All right, everybody, welcome back to a very exciting episode of the ANS podcast. I am your host, Alec Miller. You can find me on Twitter at AlecMiller0423. And let me just bring in my co-host for the day. Jesus, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? You can find me at The Real Jesus, and that's spelled JEEZUS on the Twitter.com.
Yes, man. And I'm excited, man. We have a big guest, our first guest that we've ever really had on this show.
Are you there? Are you there?
It's a little lag, but oh no. Great. Can you hear me, Andres? All right. So, anyways, Jesus is having some technical difficulties. Sorry about that. But we're joined today by a big guest, and I'm super excited to have this guest on. He is the Star Wars tournament winner for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown in the Star Wars division. He is none other than Andres Ace Cabrera, man.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. I wish I could add some applause, but I can't.
All good.
Thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, I know we've been trying to get this done for a while. That's also my bad. I was on night shift for a bit, but I'm finally back on days, so I can come and do this. But I'm excited. We have a big card to get to, man. There's a lot of stuff that happened in this past week. But before we get started, I just want to get to know you a little, man.
Sure.
So what got you into MMA or wrestling or both?
Wow. I grew up in the Nitro era for wrestling, right?
Nice.
So I'm in that age group where the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s is my era of wrestling. So I got into the Latin wrestlers, obviously, because I'm Latino. So Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, those guys were my boys. And I actually lived in El Paso for a little bit. So Eddie was like my homie.
Man.
Yeah. I know that one killed me, obviously. But that's what got me into wrestling. And obviously The Rock, all those other guys really got me into it. I remember my first pay-per-view was WrestleMania, I think 18, which is a great WrestleMania. And eventually 19, 20, I would see those. I would ask my dad to take me to like a Buffalo Wild Wings so I could see the WrestleManias every year. But I got into wrestling. I don't even know what got me into MMA. I think I'm gonna give credit to my buddy Daniel. So Daniel Schroeder. He was a buddy of mine who got me into MMA. He started me with Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes was the first guy I started watching in MMA way back in the day, right? And then eventually Matt Hughes faced up against a guy named GSP, and obviously GSP became who he is. One of the greatest ever. And eventually I just dove head first into MMA, and my roommate and I actually bonded over MMA. He was the first guy I met at work, and we started talking about mixed martial arts, and him and I like literally watch every fight together that we possibly can. That's literally the only thing that's keeping us sane during this quarantine. Nice. We're going crazy right now. But yeah, ever since then I've been following MMA. I try to watch every pay-per-view that's like a major pay-per-view. I've been trying to keep up over the past few weeks. I've been a little busy, so some of these fights might be surprises for me. But for the most part, man, it's the one sport that I always felt like if I tried a little more, I could maybe even do it. At least one for martial art, but martial arts has always been a part of my life. I grew up with Bruce Lee. I grew up with like martial arts film, kung fu films. So anything martial arts wise, I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid. So when I found out about mixed martial arts, just game over, man. I loved it.
It's a natural progression.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to go ahead and give the same question to you, Jesus. MMA, how'd you get into it?
Oh, man, MMA, well, I started as well in the 90s. I was born in the mid-80s. So in the 90s, my dad and I would bond watching boxing, actually. So I grew up with, Julio Cesar Chavez, Oscar De La Hoya, Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, all those guys. And then as I got into high school, I started staying up late and watching K1, which was kickboxing and things of that nature. And that led into UFC and renting the UFCs from the local Blockbuster or whatever the little local video store was that we'd rent UFC 1, UFC 2, and all those. And eventually, I just I just transitioned kind of from boxing, and I still love boxing, but from boxing to MMA as my main sport that I love and watch and have a passion for. But I still watch boxing. I still keep up with boxing. I know all the up and coming fighters. And then I started writing for MMA websites and things of that nature, doing fan posts and things. And it's just been, a passion of mine because I feel like, to me, MMA is like the human version of chess. And it's one-on-one, it's you can have a team that's around you and you practice with and train with, but in the ring, the octagon is just you. So I've been through the first stages of MMA up until, the GSP era. And then now into where you are really getting true mixed martial artists that are well-rounded and everything. And then you still have those outliers like a Khabib, who's just a one single, thing that he can do, but he just does it so much better than everybody else. So that's kind of how I got into it, man. And I'm just like you, Andres. This, MMA is keeping me sane right now during this quarantine. So we've been keeping up with it. We're very excited. I think the Contender Series is coming back right now. Mm-hmm. So that was some of the best TV last year that we watched. So I'm excited about that. And that's kind of how and also, as far as wrestling, I've been a wrestling fan since also the mid to late 90s, Stone Cold, The Rock, those guys. And then I kind of transitioned away from that a little bit, but I still had a foot in the door because my brother, who's 10 years younger than me, was a big wrestling fan. And I started taking him to shows. I took him to Raw. I took him to, I think what was here? There was a big pay-per-view here in Houston in the early 2000s that I took him. I think it might have been, was there a WrestleMania
17?
Yeah, I think
I believe it was 17.
I think I took him to one of those, to a couple shows actually. And so I've just wrestling has always been there in the background. And then when we got into this podcast, we've been doing this podcast for now, I think 2 years now, right, Alec?
Yeah, just about, or a little over.
A little bit over 2 years. I kind of got back into it and I watched something, anything that's exciting, even, some of the what is it, that they both transition. So for example, Ronda Rousey going over to the WWE, Cain Velasquez going over there to WWE, all that is there's a lot of interchange in between the two sports. Dana White's a huge Vince McMahon fan, and he tries to do a lot of things like Vince McMahon. So it's just an interesting, crossover. And Alec loves wrestling, and I'm trying to get him into MMA. And he jumped in head first because he was ready. But I'll ask you now, Alec, what got you into, MMA and wrestling, or wrestling first and then maybe MMA later?
So what got me into wrestling was actually the WrestleMania you just talked about. My first ever match that I ever watched was the TLC match between Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudley Boys. And that was I believe that was the first ever TLC match that was ever done, because Edge and Christian like to use chairs. The Hardy Boys love their ladders, and the Dudley Boys love their tables. And I fell in love. Like, it was just how people could do that. And let me see, when I have it pulled up, that was in the year 2001. So I'm about 8 years old, and that was insane, man. I just never seen anything like that before, and I fell in love with it at the end. I fell in love with it after that. I followed it for a good amount of time, through the Ruthless Aggression era, because that was right after I think the Attitude Era was coming to an end around that time. So I'd see Stone Cold and The Rock and all that, but then my guy was always Edge. Edge, Jeff Hardy were my guys. My favorite match that I always show people like, I've never watched a wrestling match. The one I always show them is Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match. I think that's beautiful storytelling, and just in such a short little amount of time, it's very digestible. But so ever since then, wrestling has been one of my loves. I fell off for a little bit in high school. I thought I was too cool for it, and then said, you know what, this is cool, man. I got tired of people asking me, telling me like, it's fake, right? Well, everything you watch is fake on TV. So, that's what I started telling people, and then just kept going and made this podcast. And I remember when I was a kid, I liked one of the first fighters I ever saw was Anderson Spider Silva. And I thought he was fantastic. I liked watching him fight. But I never really followed it completely. It wasn't until this podcast, I asked the guy at Texas Sports Review, one of our producers, I said, I want to do a wrestling show. He told me that he has a guy that wants to do an MMA show. He linked me and Jesus up together, and 2 years later, we're still doing this podcast, and I'm loving the ride. So I've been literally watching every single fight for the past 2 years. Like,
yeah, man,
basically.
You dove head first, man, and that was pretty awesome, man. But yeah, man, I mean, I feel like all of us have a similar background into how we got into the sport and the sports. And if you guys see, all of us kind of have that transition of both, wrestling on one side and MMA on the other. And again, people say it's fake or what have you, but I mean, they're still athletes and there's still a lot, like you said, everything's fake that you watch on TV pretty much. So it's just interesting.
It's predetermined.
Yeah, we've had that discussion before plenty of times.
Oh yeah. So we'll go ahead and go, and you'll notice, Ace, when we're talking about certain fighters, I look at it from a wrestler standpoint, like wrestling fan standpoint. I'm looking for personality. Like, give me the personality, and you win with me. But go ahead and go just real quick answer for guys. So favorite fight. Your favorite fighter or / wrestler? I'll go first. My favorite fighter at the moment is Zhang Weili, which will tie into my favorite fight because I'm a casual. I'm a filthy casual. My favorite fight is her fight with Joanna. I think that's if you want to get someone into into MMA, I think that's a great first place to start. Two women that just can go at it back and forth. And Zhang Weili is I can't even explain why I love her so much, but Jesus can be a testament, but I fell in love with her from the minute that I saw her. I think it was her second or third fight, but it was my first time watching her, and I couldn't get enough of her. And then wrestler, my GOAT is Edge. I was actually at WrestleMania. I was actually at Royal Rumble this past year when he returned. One of the best moments of all time. I told my girlfriend I would have been kicking myself if I would have missed that event. But all right, go ahead. Jesus, favorite fighter / wrestler, if you have one.
I guess my favorite fighter right now probably would be Paul Felder, just because he's I don't know, he's humble and he's a really good what is it called, announcer.
The Irish Dragon.
You just see a little bit more of his struggle with continuing because he has another opportunity. I don't know, just when they're real like that, I just like them right now. But I mean, there's so many. As far as wrestler goes, man, I mean, I can go old school and say, I don't even know. I think Ricky the Steamboat.
Ricky the Dragon. Steamboat,
yeah, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I just remember, watching him on the weekends and then him using that whole, flame out of his mouth thing, that whole gimmick. So I would say somebody like that. And then really, if I want to go old school, like, because I used to watch Mexican wrestling, I'd probably go, Blue Demon or Octagon or something like that, man, because those are old school guys. You have a hijo of them fighting now, basically. So something like that, man, is probably what I would do. But I don't really get a lot of favorites, man. I would just try to be as unbiased as possible.
You're a reporter. It's all right. It's all good.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm kind of the same way, right? Where I appreciate people's skills more than I appreciate them, if that makes sense. Yeah, I would probably say my GOAT is just, for wrestling, it's Eddie Guerrero for pretty much forever. Literally because I was in El Paso when he died, so that was like you felt it in the city. I was in LA when Kobe died too.
Wow.
And that was
the day of the Royal Rumble, man. It kind of soured it a little bit.
Yeah. It was something, man, because you really felt like that's the closest I've ever been to like how it felt like in the Middle Ages when royalty died and like you felt the entire city like stop what they're doing. I was in a 7-Eleven and all of us like literally gathered together. We didn't know each other and we just started like hugging each other. It was crazy. It was insane. Kobe was like the king of LA. But yeah, that's me with Eddie, right? Eddie is like my favorite all time. Fighter is tougher for me, right? Because I grew up with GSP. So I want to put him up there, even though people, in retrospect, a lot of people hate him because of, the boring fighter thing too. And I get it. Right now, I mean, I really like, who would I say right now? I love the female fighters right now. I'm kind of with you. I really like her too. I think she throws down. I'm talking about Wei Li.
Yeah,
I think that's a great choice. But I guess just in traditional sake, I'll go GSP just because I grew up with him.
Absolutely. I mean, some people see him as the GOAT.
Yeah,
some people see him as the GOAT, man. It's amazing.
I mean, when it comes to trying to beat him, he's tough to beat.
Yeah. He literally took how many years off did he take, and then he went up to 185, and then won.
Like 4 years, I think it was something like that.
And then
I saw that fight.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we're gonna go ahead and go to our next segment, and this is one we do every week on Ace.
Yeah.
And it's called "What Are You Watching?" So we're both in the geek culture, the pop culture realm. We love movies, we love TV, and we just try to like go real quick about what we're watching. Really, all I've been digging in a lot of anime lately.
Nice.
I told Jesus last week that I actually started using my TikTok and posting reviews of different shows, and a bunch of anime fans came in and started dropping animes for me to watch. So I watched Parasite this past week, the first episode. Watched another episode of Akame ga Kill. I just started Tokyo Ghoul today.
No way.
And then the one that me and my girlfriend are, I've already seen it before. I've seen it all the way through once. I'm trying to get her to watch it, and we're pretty successful right now. I'm watching Naruto with her, so she's watching it for the first time. And I made a bet with her. I made a deal with her that if like any time that I want her to watch Naruto, I got to pick up a basket and fold some clothes. So
Nice.
while I'm folding clothes, we're just running through episodes. I think yesterday we ran through like 5 episodes, finished the preliminaries of the tuning exam. The only bad thing is, my heart broke, which told me she was a Sasuke fan. We've been through a lot, and that was the one that almost did it for me.
Yeah.
I almost had to call it a day, but we were able to recover.
How what'd you think of Parasite?
Oh, loved it. That's actually my review for Parasite, actually, because I was saying I love the horror aspect. I love the body horror that they were doing with it. It reminded me of The Thing, especially with that dog. It reminded me of The Thing, and I was like, that's my kind of show. Like, if you want me to watch a show, put that in there. And they recommended Tokyo Ghoul, and so far I'm about halfway through, and I'm loving it. I like the horror aspect that they're doing.
Did you finish
both shows?
Halfway through season 1 or halfway through the whole thing?
Oh no, just halfway through. I have only watched an episode. I'm going episode by episode and just talking about it on TikTok. So I'm going real slow. I like to savor things. I don't like to binge things. I'm not a big binger. I can't. I get bored and then I want to watch something else. So I try not to binge things too much personally. And it's hard because I have a girlfriend who likes to binge.
Yeah.
And gets mad at me because I can't talk about whatever show she's watching.
Yeah.
But all right, Ace, what are you watching, man? Anything new or recently?
Oh, dude, what's crazy? Ever since I finished that Star Wars tournament, because all I saw was Star Wars. Like, I didn't let myself see anything else. I've been struggling. It's funny. I'm doing this right now because I've been going through like this moment where I'm like, what should I watch? What am I doing? Because all I would see was Star Wars. But now I'm trying to, first of all, go through the movies that I was supposed to watch for my YouTube channel because we do movie reviews. So I saw like Vast of Night, The Five Bloods. What else did I see? The Old Guard. So I had to see those movies because those movies came out. Palm Springs came out the same week when I finished. So I saw those, and now I'm trying to find a show to watch. I want to start rewatching because I loved Ozark seasons 1 and 2. So I want to see season 3. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I haven't. I haven't.
It's dope. It's a really cool show. It's kind of Breaking Bad-ish. People always compare it to Breaking Bad, where it's like about like cartels and drug cartels and all that. But it's a dope show. And then I want to start seeing. You know what show that trailer kind of got me? I want to start watching.
Which one?
Homecoming. That trailer got me because it's like some sort of like military espionage something.
Yeah, it's weird. We saw the first.
You saw it?
The first season, because I think it's in season 2 now.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's the same. I think it's the same cast, but different story or something like that.
Okay.
But the first season was pretty cool, and it was a lot of they weren't over expositioning. They were just giving you just enough, to be like, what's going on, and this is crazy, and why don't they leave? I don't know. It was good, man. For the first season, it was pretty good. I haven't seen the second season.
Yeah,
but the first season, I definitely recommend that one at least.
I'll check that out, and then eventually, when it comes to anime, because I've seen all the animes you mentioned, Alec. I want to start watching Demon Slayer because that's the one that I'm behind on because that came out like a year ago. And everyone's like, you got to see Demon Slayer. So I'm like, all right, now's the time. I'm going to binge Demon Slayer because I have Hulu and it's on Hulu. So that's my list of what I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, Hulu is very anime heavy. I'm loving it.
It is.
That's basically where I found all the animes that I was watching. Was on Hulu.
Honestly, I had Crunchyroll before. And then as soon as I started going through my Hulu, I was like, I think I'm just good with Hulu.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Jesus, what you watching, man? You still watching Perry Mason?
Yeah, so I watched Perry Mason last night. I think last night was a little bit of a payoff episode. It was really good. Still, man, excellent. Directing and the period pieces and stuff like that is just awesome, man. I saw I'll Be Gone in the Dark as well because they're back to back. So it's one and then the next one, which is the Golden State Killer. And this last episode was kind of sad because the original lady, Michelle McNamara, who wrote the book, she passed away, and they're kind of explaining what happened with her. So I was kind of sad, but I mean, they're both great shows on HBO. I recommend Perry Mason a lot, man. My wife doesn't like it as much. I like it. It's a period piece. It's very interesting. It's very detailed. Very good acting. I think the guy's name is Matthew Reese, and I think Robert Downey Jr. is an executive producer on it. So I definitely recommend that one. I started watching The Last Dance, which was on ESPN before, and I saw the first 2 episodes there, and then I just stopped, and then I'm binging them right now and going through it. I mean, I lived through his basically his titles and his reign and all that, and it's just interesting going back and kind of watching from a different aspect. Because I mean, I was young, man. I was like 10, 12, 13 years old, but I played basketball in middle school, high school. So I've always loved basketball as well as from a personal physical standpoint that I get to play it, and just what he was able to do and accomplish is amazing. But then getting all the backstory to it is just, I don't know, man. It's just extra special for me, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then when was it, on Saturday when we got a bunch of rain in here because of Hurricane Hannah or Depression Hannah or whatever. I pulled out a 23-year-old movie so that my wife and my kids can watch, called Hard Rain, which is I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's with Morgan Freeman, and Morgan Freeman is actually a bad guy in this movie, which is rare. So it's Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater, Minnie Driver, and who's the other one? Oh, and Randy Quaid. And it also has the guy from SVU, the chief, the old bald man, in a bit in a bit role as well. But it's a pretty good movie, man. It's where they mash up a disaster movie because it's like a bunch of rain and flooding with a heist movie, and it's kind of mashed together. It's really good. It's really well done. It's pretty good movie and it kind of, it didn't look dated at all. It wasn't a lot of special effects back then, but it's a really good movie, man. I definitely recommend if you guys want to watch a disaster heist movie.
All right. One last thing that I'm also watching, me and my girlfriend we're big horror fans, Ju-on Origins, but that's one that I need a palate cleanser every time. I watch one episode and I need a palate cleanser right after. It is some heavy stuff. That does Japanese duty, man. Japanese horror. They wait, they just pack it and stack it on top of you. So that's the one that we watch like one episode at a time. The first episode, you're just like, I looked at my girl. I was like, Jesus, like I don't. Let's watch like that 70s show or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we threw on that 70s show or New Girl. Like, put on a comedy. I can't. Yeah.
What's it called again?
It's Ju-on Origins. So it's basically like the origins of the Grudge, because Ju-on and the original Grudge was called Ju-on, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like the prequel TV show. You're kind of seeing like the spirits and like starting out, I guess. I don't know. I never watched the original Grudge or Ju-on or anything. That was before I actually got into horror. I got to catch up on all that old Japanese horror and stuff. But all right. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of what this show is, also, guys, we got sports back this week, and we're getting more sports back this week. So we have baseball. We got baseball back this week. Don't know how much longer. So we're gonna enjoy it while it lasts. As you can see, me and Jesus are Astros fans, so we're loving what they're doing. But I think I'm really happy to have it back, even though I like it with no fans. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to, but if you think about it, there are barely any fans in the games beforehand. Really? So there were, man. Come on, like the only time you see the stadiums packed is like, especially Minute Maid. The only time you see a Minute Maid stadium packed was during a Taylor Swift concert or something.
Oh no, man, we were always
the World Series. But I love hearing the crack of the bat. It just feels good. I hope it can go on longer. Rob Manfred just came out and said that basically the only way he's going to cancel the season is if like teams start to get decimated to the point where it's non-competitive, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But it is what it is. And then we're also getting the successful side of it, NBA back this week. The bubble, they're doing really good so far. How to do it right. The only, like literally, as soon as someone leaves the bubble and comes back, they're basically thrown in a room and forced to stay in there. Lou Williams is going to be in quarantine for a bit because he had to go to a strip club to go eat.
That was funny.
Hold on. He said for picking up some hot wings. Come on.
Yeah.
I said to eat. I said to eat. I didn't say that he did anything else.
It just so happens that his favorite hot wings are at a strip club, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, whose favorite hot wings aren't there?
Let those that have never gone to a strip club for the wings cast the first stone.
All right. I mean, I don't even like strip clubs, honestly. I don't like to waste money. But so I'm just excited to have basketball back. I know Ace, that's your favorite sport.
That's me. Yeah, that's me, man. Honestly, I've been watching a lot of the scrimmages over the weekend. That's pretty much all I've been watching. That's kind of why I haven't started the shows that I named out to you guys. I was like, I got to start watching these shows, but I was watching the scrimmages instead. Those guys were going harder than I thought. That's my biggest takeaway was like, for example, you guys, I don't know if you guys saw that the Rockets play the Grizzlies, but Harden went like 35 minutes. He was going hard.
Yeah,
I was kind of shocked. But
they just missed it.
Can I name the elephant in the room and just say, because I don't know if you guys are Rockets fans or not, but my God, Valanciunas just annihilated you guys.
Yeah.
Valanciunas was just like, whoop, don't beam the ball. Don't beam the ball.
We're so small, man.
Because you guys are so tiny.
Yeah, it's small ball and it's interesting, man. It's an interesting experiment. I still think it's gonna play out. Daryl Morey's an evil genius back there as a GM, and I mean, I'm a big analytics focused guy, and honestly, I mean, we have James Harden and Russell Westbrook in their primes. We're sprinting to the playoffs, and can y'all guys can the rest of the league keep up, basically, because that's exactly what it's going to be. And defensively, I mean, they can switch on everything. They got Covington, which was a huge get, man. And he's just gonna pay so much dividends, and he's been paying so much dividends. And then you got PJ Tucker, the guy who comes with the hard hat and a lunch pail every day, who's loved by the city tremendously. And then you got Eric Gordon. You got, I don't know, man. It's just a ragtag bunch in the bench, but it's interesting, man. Like you said, and Harden came out with the statement saying that he's going hard because the first game is a couple of days away, and they only have 8 games, and that's how much he's going to be playing. So he said he wanted to get his body to make sure that he was ready for when it went live. So I guess he's trying to be ahead of the curve, man.
Yeah.
Who's your teammates?
Oh, well, I'm wearing it right.
Suns? All right, I like it.
Yeah, I've been a Suns fan since I can remember, man. I grew up with the Nash era, so the Steve Nash Suns.
Shawn Marion.
Yeah, Shawn Marion, Amari Stoudemire.
The Matrix.
All those guys. Raja Bell. Like, that was my team. So I'm a hardcore, like, Suns fan. I go to Suns games every time I can. I went to a Suns game in L.A. because I live in L.A., for anyone who doesn't know. So I go see Suns games over there when they play the Clippers. So I saw the Clippers play a few times last year. So, yeah, I'm a hardcore Suns fan. Obviously, we don't have a shot. but
you have a lot of young talent, though, right?
I love Booker, man.
Yeah, I like our team too, but my problem is, like, we just got to focus on winning. We can't just be focused on trying to score as many points as we can and stuff like that, which has kind of been our distraction. And then Ayton is starting to pick it up a little bit, but it's a little bit too little, too late when it comes to this year, at least. But that was my biggest takeaway from the scrimmages was players like Valanciunas, who were injured pretty much all year. Players like Collins and Zerkic from the Blazers, they look good. So now that they have injured,
McCollum looked good too.
McCollum, yeah, but injured players that are coming back.
Oh, they're coming back,
yeah. Like those 3 guys, I was like, that makes a big difference, man. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
Who's your baseball team?
My baseball team. See, that's the thing. I don't watch too much baseball, man. Baseball is like that one sport that's my weak spot. I love football, but baseball is the one. It's just anything Arizona, so I guess Diamondbacks.
I like that stadium.
Yeah,
It's a nice day. Man.
Yeah, that's what we do, man.
I like Greinke. I mean, he was on the Diamondbacks. He's on the Astros now. So.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're a Cardinals fan for football.
Yeah, and again, we're terrible too.
Well, no. Y'all got we gifted y'all somebody.
We gave you somebody for free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
for free, basically.
I just
pennies and dimes.
I just threw back a bag of Skittles and some stamps, and we gave you guys the best wide receiver in the game.
The best wide receivers in the game? Yeah, 100%.
Bill O'Brien said, "What?" Bill O'Brien asked him, "What do you have in your pocket?" I'll take it. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Dude, I woke up that day. I'm just gonna we actually recorded I think that week after.
Yes,
I went bananas on this show.
Yeah,
like, I was enraged. I gave up. I have a Texans tattoo, and I've made the plan. I'm covering it up. Like I can't openly support this team anymore. I will quietly support them, and I still want them to succeed. But dude, Nuke was my boy, and I hope y'all enjoy him. And Kyler is fantastic. I think. Yeah. The only unfortunate thing is y'all are in the NFC West, and that freaking division is like that's the division I think everyone might finish over 500. That is very possible. A big possibility, I think.
Yeah, and even look at what Seattle got today too. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Adams, like, come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, but they still need a rush because they suck.
Need a running back.
No, I'm talking about pass rush. I'm sorry, pass rush.
Oh yeah, because they didn't re-sign.
They didn't re-sign Clowney, and they had a horrible pass rush last year with Clowney. And Clowney's not your typical pass rusher. He just breaks up a lot of plays and messes stuff up.
He's a better run stopper.
Yeah, but there's that division is stacked, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's get to the main event, guys. We got a lot to talk about. This is a 15 fight card. And we got about an hour and a half. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I might have something to say on all these fights because I think up and down this fight card was actually I liked it a lot. Some really very impressive fighters that I saw. I spent all day yesterday watching it because I didn't have time to watch it Saturday. Because unfortunately, my girlfriend, her mom made me watch X-Men: Dark Phoenix, and I wanted to tear my eyes out.
You're never getting that time back. Sorry.
No, I know. I felt bad because they were like, "This is pretty good," and I was like, "No." And then they were like, and then I couldn't answer their questions. And when spoiler alert, Mystique died, I couldn't answer their questions. So, wait, doesn't this tie into the other ones? I'm like, they don't even know. Like, I don't know. Yeah. We don't know. Nobody knows. But I told him it doesn't matter. Disney owns them now. Don't worry about it.
It'll get better.
All right, so we're gonna start at the bottom. Like I said, we don't have to, linger too long on the fights, but there are some things I want to talk about. I even took some notes during some of the fights. But this first one, bantamweight division, Nathaniel Wood taking on John Castaneda, and I think this is my ace. I go through and once a week I pick my favorite nickname of the fighters. Yeah. And I think I got to go Sexy Mexi. Like, ooh, that's a fantastic nickname for John Castaneda.
Strong.
Sexy Mexi.
The number one ranked right there is Sexy Mexi right there, man.
Yeah, that's a fantastic nickname. But Nathaniel Wood, man, looked fantastic in this fight. I can actually look at my notes real quick, just to look at it real quick. I was saying the first round was very close. They both looked really good, but I actually gave my first round to Wood. It was very close though. But then after that second round, dude, Wood just turned it on. Like during that second round, Wood turned it on. He started like kicking the legs, like I literally was working his way up in the levels. He would throw a kick at the legs and throw a kick at the body, and then swing for Castaneda's head. And I think it was starting to make him really uncomfortable, Castaneda. And then the one thing I will say, Castaneda has a hell of a chin. Mm-hmm. The dude took nasty shots. He took one in the third that I thought should have knocked him out. I think it was an elbow. He took one that I thought should have ended. And also I noticed that Castaneda, about 30 seconds left on the third round, he was looking up at the clock, and that's like a pet peeve of mine. It makes me think you don't want to be in there anymore, and that's what I actually wrote down. I was like, Castaneda doesn't want to be in there anymore. He wants the fight to be over. So great. It's a good win for Wood. We'll see what goes on next. But y'all have anything to say about this fight? Oh, and real quick, our man Ricky Gerard, who brought the soon-to-be Star Wars champion on.
Hey, what is up, man? Yeah, I'm gonna disappoint you guys right now. Because I didn't see these fights, man. I saw the main card.
Main card? Okay, no problem.
Yeah, so I feel so bad right now.
No.
Because when I recorded it, this is all that came up.
Yeah,
No, you're good.
Part of it.
No,
you're all
you're good, man. It was a big fight card, man. 15
Yeah.
It
fights.
was 15 fights, dude. Really was insane.
Dude, that's my thing. I saw the Scottish homie. That's where I started.
Okay, cool. So
Okay.
what we can
You with
do
the triangle.
is we'll
Yeah,
talk,
man.
and then usually too, like, because normally this happens a lot too, whether I don't get a chance to watch them or Alec won't get a chance to watch them, what have you. So we'll just talk about them, and then if we have one that's like a really good fight, we'll say, hey man, you might want to check that one out because of XYZ or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you got anything to say about it, Jesus? Did you watch it?
Yeah, man. I mean, I saw all of them. This fight was really good. Nathaniel Wood is coming off a bad loss against John Dodson, who is kind of in the back nine of his career. There was a size difference here. I think that was a big deal with the size difference between Wood and Castaneda. They both were on point with speed. They were both about the same speed level. But I mean, this was actually for an opening fight, to me, this was a very high level fight, man, from a striking perspective. Castaneda did get the short end of the stick. He was getting beat a lot. But it was a chess match in there, and Nathaniel Wood took it. It was he didn't like beat him down, but he won decisively. And this is a Nathaniel Wood that we were supposed to see in his last fight against Dodson. He got caught and knocked out. So he's still a uber prospect. He's gonna have more fights. We're gonna get to see a lot more of him. So remember the name Nathaniel Wood, because he's gonna be on the rise.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they said that Castaneda actually jumped in late for this fight. I think he was a late addition. So like I said, when it comes to guys taking fights on late notice, you always get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, so why were you mad at him when he was looking at the clock, man? Give the man a break.
It's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not mad at him. It's just a pet peeve. That's all. It's just one of those things that you notice. My girl hates when I bite my nails. It's just something that you notice all the time. That's my thing. I also have the UFC performance bonuses, and I'll name them out as we get to the performance bonuses, because Ace, I like highlighting those performance bonuses, especially when it goes to the guys that don't get paid the big money. Yeah. Especially when they get the money that they deserve. And there's actually 6 performance of the night bonuses. None of them fight of the night. They're all performances of the night. Nobody won fight of the night. So
that's interesting.
Wow. Yeah, it's very, very. It happens sometimes, but not often.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up we have, and why did my page move? Next up, Ramazan Emaev. I'm gonna butcher some of these names, versus Niklas Stolze. And this one, dude, Emaev, the one word I wrote down when I was watching this fight, he's relentless. He doesn't let up, man. Like, he was just constantly driving Stolze into the cage or to the ground. He had a neck crank that looked horribly uncomfortable.
Really ugly, yeah.
On Stolze. Stolze was able to get out, and actually, I think it was at the end, Stolze rocks Emaev with a knee.
Yeah,
right at the very end of the round.
It was the end of the first round, and
it was like 10 seconds left.
That's what I was gonna say. Is if he lands that 30 seconds earlier, that fight is done, because that was a perfect knee, and he was really rocked on that.
Yeah, so I said because of that, like, that was a big not I don't even know if it was a knockdown, but it was close to it. I would have scored it 9-9, just because Emaev, was ruling the takedowns and was on top of him the whole time. But as soon as they stood up, Stolze hits him with that knee. Now it's the second round where Stolze looks gassed.
Yeah,
he looks like he's done. He gassed out. He was done. Emaev did exactly what he had to do.
Yeah.
But I will also say, Stolze actually, at the very end of the third round, he looks like he locks in that guillotine, and once again the round ends.
Yeah, so, but that's yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. He did lock it in, and he was trying to get it, and there was also 10 seconds left in the round. I also think that's I mean, that happens a lot in fights where the guy knows that it's like 10 seconds left, 8 seconds left, 5 seconds left.
He just lets up.
Yeah, they'll just do. I mean, you won't give up an armbar like that, because you could break your arm in that time frame. But like a choke, they'll let it go just because it's the end of the round. He's not going to get me. And I think that's kind of what happened there.
Yeah. So this one was one that it was a good fight, but Stolza gassing out at the end of that first round was unfortunate because I think it could have been an even better fight. Next up, this is the one I had to talk about because I saw the video before I watched the fight. So this is Betch Correa taking on Panning Kianzad in the women's bantamweight division. And we know Betch is Correa. She's got a few wins. She has actually a win against Sajara Eubanks recently. The pit bull. She pulled a bonehead move at the end of the first round. I wrote down rookie mistake. She's been in the UFC for so long.
Yeah,
I don't know if have you seen it, Ace?
I didn't know.
So they do the clapper, or they bang the cinder blocks. Let them know it's 10 seconds, right? 10 seconds left. Correa mistakes that for the end of the round.
No.
And she picks up her hand to Kianzad, and I wrote down, I love Kianzad's killer instinct because she threw a punch. She didn't like, oh yeah, she doesn't realize. No, she threw like multiple punches and could have ended the fight. But she was able, Correa, even after the ref was telling her, like, hey, like, what are you doing? I think he said you have to wait for the horn.
Yeah.
And she was like, I know, like she knew that she made a really big mistake.
That's a huge mistake. Yeah.
It could have ended the fight. It did go off 3 rounds. Kianzad is a killer striker. I think she looks really good. She's very fast. I think that's one of the things I noted about her. She's very fast. And was just rocking Kianzad, but in that 3rd round, man, Correa was landing a couple big shots, and Correa is tough as nails, but Kianzad ends up getting the victory. I think this is a really good fight. This is one to definitely watch if you can.
Yeah, this is a good fight. Betch Correa is just one of those quirky individuals in the fight game, and she's always, I don't know, her mind is always somewhere else. Even when she's weighing in or what have you. So I didn't like. It was surprising, but it wasn't unexpected. I guess I don't know. But yeah, that was interesting. That could have had a lot to do with the fight. It was a huge punch. It kind of rocked her, and then there were some follow up punches. I mean, there was 10 seconds left in the round. But you're right, man. She's lucky that it wasn't finished there. I mean, you look back at some famous ones when that happened when Mayweather did that to Victor Ortiz and knocked him out, and that was the end of the fight because he was trying to, hug him, or I don't even know what he was trying to do, but
that was weird.
But his head wasn't in the game, and that's exactly and out of any game that you want to make sure your head is in the game, it's a combat sport, or the boxing or MMA. So that was just kind of a bonehead move on Betch Correa's part. But you're right. After that, he got better. I think she did have a great 3rd round, but she did lose the fight. Like there wasn't a robbery here at all.
Nope.
And that's a big win for Kianzad because Betch Correa is a veteran. Like you mentioned, she just has a win over Sajara Eubanks, and Sajara Eubanks is on the rise, and she's a tough out.
Correa is actually ranked 13, so Kianzad might break that top 15.
At the very least, she'll be probably 15, maybe 14. So yeah, man, good win for her on this fight card.
I can actually look at the rankings real quick. So yeah, she's 13. Oh, you know what? That's pound for pound. Dumb. So yeah, I mean, so at 13, Betch, and then 14, 15 is Sajara Eubanks and Julia Avila, respectively. So maybe one of those people got to get dropped out. Maybe Avila, I don't know. But yeah, she could break that. And this is a division that needs contenders because Amanda Nunes has cleaned out the division.
One of 2 divisions that she's cleaned out.
Yeah, she's cleaned out. Yeah, she's cleaned out 1 of 2 divisions. And so this is one that needs contenders and needs up and coming talent. And Kianzad can very quickly, make a name for herself. That's the best way to do it too in this division, because it's not going to take you a bunch of fights to get to that championship fight because Nunes has cleaned out the division. So therefore, you might be ranked 5, 6, and Nunes wants to fight. So you just give her, hey, okay, you fight this 5 ranked fighter, this 6 ranked fighter. You might not need to fight one of those top ranked women, especially if Holly Holm beats Aldana in October, because that was supposed to be maybe the next contender, but Holly Holm already got knocked out by Nunes. Dana's kind of depending on Aldana winning that fight, really. But I like Aldana. She's a good fighter. But we'll go on to the next fight. This is one of the performances of the night, the first one. Tanner Boser versus Rafael Pessoa Nunes. Heavyweight, man, and I think one of the things I definitely took notice is this guy could possibly be a problem at 225 at heavyweight, Boser, because of the fact that he is so much smaller. He's able to move. That was the thing. He moves like Clay Guida. The way he's constantly moving, he's constantly bouncing, and it can confuse fighters, especially at the heavyweight division where you can get very gassed out very quickly. And you saw here he was bringing it to Rafael. Rafael landed a few big shots, but Boser was able to get around that. Landed that nasty shot to his eye in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. Second round, sorry, second round. This is the first one that people were complaining about Herb Dean. I get it. I wouldn't necessarily. The other one's worse, but this one is more like, okay, like I get it because he fell down to a ball. You probably should call it at that point. But Herb Dean, for some reason, says if you're breathing, you can fight. At least this week, because I like Herb Dean. Herb Dean is he's a griff.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a bad
everybody has bad days at the office, man, including referees. I don't know, man. This fight, Boser could be a problem. He is very spry on his legs. He has some power. This is part of the whole pandemic fights where he recently fought, and he's fighting again. So we've seen him kind of back to back. So he's top of mind. I don't know how he does against, some better wrestlers in the heavyweight division or some bigger guys that are going to push him up against the fence. I'm just thinking obviously Curtis Blades is top of division, but somebody like a Curtis Blades, they're going to ragdoll this guy. Verdum is going to ragdoll him. People like that, they're bigger, are going to ragdoll him. So I don't know, man. But I mean, obviously I want to see more. He has power, he's shown it. He has power. He has moves. He can take a punch. And he's a fighter, man. I don't know if you saw. Did you guys see the post fight where he opened up a monster? Was it a monster? I think it was a monster or a Red Bull with his teeth. He popped it open with his teeth.
Jesus.
He only has one tooth in the front, so that should tell you guys something about Mr. Boser. So yeah, and also something funny about Mr. Boser. Earlier in the fight week, he lost his fight shorts, the actual shorts that he fights in. So somebody was walking around with his shorts on that said Boser on the side, and he put out a reward on Instagram for anybody that could tell him who had him, so he can get him back.
This is one of the fights where I heard some of the best advice that I've heard the Saturday night was Paul Felder, because I guess people were asking him like, why doesn't he fight? Why won't he fight at 205? Why, do you want to fight at 205 or do you want to stay at 225? And Paul Felder says if you're running through guys in a higher division, or if you're no matter what division you're in, if you're in a lower division or a higher division, if you're running through guys, don't change it. And Boser's winning. He's got two wins in a row. Don't change it. And I think we're talking about another one. There's another fighter that he brought it up with. I can't remember exactly who it was, but he mentioned there's no reason to go up a weight or down a weight if you're if you're winning the division. He said that's the reason why he won't go to 170 is because he's been winning at 155. Yeah. Even though he said that he's like, I probably feel better at 170, but I'm not gonna go there.
Well, I think it's twofold. So one, we can see it with Gilbert Burns right now. He can fight at 155 or 170, but he was having a little run at 170, and now lo and behold, he's going to be the number one contender at 170. So why do it? Two, it's a career thing. Like it's use all your options. If I'm winning at 170 or heavyweight or whatever. If I lose, if I go on a streak, I can tell Dana or the matchmakers, hey, I'm gonna drop down to 205, and that gives you a little bit extra juice. They'll say, okay, well, let's see you 2 times at 205 instead of losing again at heavyweight and getting cut. So it kind of gives the fighters more options if and when they get to the end of the rope, when they start doing a couple losses or a couple bad losses or what have you. So yeah, man, if you're winning, I don't think he should cut weight. This guy Boser, I just don't think he's gonna have success when he gets to the top of the division. But keep on winning, man. Keep on winning during these pandemic fights, and he has a personality. He's a fun guy. He has some power, so he's not boring. So yeah, man, just keep it going.
All right. Yeah. Next up, real quick, fight Movsar Evloev taking on Mike Grundy in the featherweight. Grundy just couldn't stand with him. He's more of a wrestler. couldn't stand with Evloev, and was just dominated for 3 rounds. Not really much else to break down in that fight, really.
Well, actually, I mean, I'm gonna tell you real quick. Mike Grundy's not a scrub, dude. You know, he's not a scrub, and I think he got his orbital broken in the first round, and I think that was something that was kind of messing with him for the whole fight. He was 12-1 going into this fight. Now he's 12-2, and Evloev was 13-0. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, he was kind of, you know, beat handedly, but he's not a scrub. So that just, to me, that's a really good win for Evloev.
All right. Yeah. Next up, this is one that I missed. Tom Aspinall taking on Jake Coulier, heavyweight. Tom Aspinall gets the win by knockout. Another performance of the night for Tom Aspinall. I'm pretty sure you watched it, Jesus. Real quick, just a real quick breakdown.
Aspinall's a beast. He's gonna be something to be messed with at heavyweight. He's also funny because he looks like Frank Mir's son. So I think Frank Mir said on Twitter or Instagram, "Welcome to the family." So this was an interesting fight. He's really good. He has fast hands. He's strong. He's very good with the mechanics and the striking. Jake Collier, man, like 5 years ago, was 170-pound welterweight in the UFC, and now he's a heavyweight. So it's been a crazy transformation for his body to go from 170 to heavyweight. And he just, I mean, he got bum rushed and beat, man. He was getting knocked with some heavy right hands. And it was a clean knockout too. So Aspinall, I want to see more of him. Maybe he fights Bozer. These guys are on the same kind of streak. They're both fast heavyweights. They got hands. They can take punches, and they're both on this pandemic fight. So maybe you set up a fight with them in a month or two, and that'll be a really good fight. But both of them are prospects, so I don't know if they want to do that. But I definitely want to see Aspinall fight more, man, because he looked really good.
All right, man. Next up, Nicholas Dalby taking on Jesse Ronson, welterweight. This is another one, Ronson with the performance of the night for the submission on Nicholas Dalby. Impressive, man. 2 minutes and 49 seconds with the submission. I've told you before, the submissions very early are impressive to me because it's normally a chess match. To get those submissions, you got to work a little harder, and to get it that early in the round is
Did you see the fight? Did you get a chance to see the fight?
I just caught a glimpse of it, man. I didn't get to watch all of it.
Okay, so Nicholas Darby is a true welterweight, dude. He has a huge back. Ronson looks like a small welterweight. Maybe he fights at 155. But Ronson is a gamer, dude, and he's a really good striker. And I feel like Dalby was kind of like playing with his food, and he was busting up Ronson, but Ronson catches him with a beautiful, I think it was a left straight or a left hook, and knocks down Dalby, and Dalby's in I mean, he's just nowhere near where he's supposed to be from a mental faculty standpoint. And Ronson jumps on top of him, is trying to beat him up, but he can't get it, so he locks in a choke and makes him tap out. So that's kind of where it came from, but it was a good fight for Ronson. Ronson's been on the bad end of, I think, 3 decisions in the UFC, where I think he probably won 2 of those 3, but the judges gave all up to his opponent. So this was a good fight for Ronson to win. Bad loss for Dalby. Dalby should have had this fight. Bigger dude, faster, more explosive, and he just, I guess he overlooked them, and he got caught.
All right, man. This is the one that we need to talk about next, and I'm trying to find the video real quick so we can get Ace's opinion on this. I don't know why I can't find it anywhere. I feel like everyone was posting it.
Check your Twitter account because I sent it to you.
Which one is it, man? I can look it up.
Oh, actually, I have it in my messages. He's right. I'm gonna pull it up real quick, and I'm gonna share the screen, and then we're gonna see this. And I just want your opinion on it, man.
Yeah.
So, and we're gonna listen to it. Let me just make the screen big. All right, I'm gonna share the screen. You're gonna see this, and this is what we really need to talk about. It's unfortunate because it was a really good fight, but unfortunately, this is what we have to talk about when it comes to this fight. All right, can you guys see?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna make it big. So, sorry, let me see. So that's the knockout, and you can see Trinaldo does not want to punch, and Herb Dean will not call the fight. And what I did was I muted it because it was very loud.
Yeah, you can look in the background. You can see Dan Hardy going crazy back there.
Yeah, Dan Hardy was yelling, saying, "Come on, ref, stop the fight!" Like, and actually before he was supposed to interview Trinaldo, you could see where he you can actually see where before he interviews Ronaldo, Dan Hardy, you can hear him yelling at Herb Dean saying, "You need to protect the fighters. What was that? Blah blah." And then
this is the second time tonight.
Wow. So. Wow. Yeah. Man, I might have the hottest take ever.
All right, man. Go do what you need to do, and
well, I'll tell you now, and then I'll step away real quick. I just need to grab this thing real quick. Here's my defense of Herb, and I guess I'm the only one because everyone else will disagree with me. Mm-hmm. My thing is he's giving the fighter on the ground. What's his name?
Herbert, yeah.
The opportunity to fight back, if that makes sense, because that could technically be, man, I don't know, because it's a knockdown or a knockout. Do you guys think that's a knockout?
It's a knockout.
Yeah,
I think his hand up like that. I think his arm locked or his arm froze. Like he couldn't move.
That's fair.
But I think but in your defense, he possibly could have thought, hey, he's got his hand up, he's trying to defend himself. And once again, in the heat of the moment, we're not there. Those jobs that those refs do is insane. We've talked about the Dominic Cruz one multiple times, but in the heat of the moment, you're like, I thought that was an early stoppage, and then looking at the replay, I was like, no, he took about 10 good shots to the head before he started getting up. And he was the ref in that fight. So was he? Yeah, he was the ref in that fight. So maybe he's trying to not pull the trigger maybe a little too quickly, and unfortunately, it just bit him in the ass this time.
What did you guys think of the Aldo Jan one?
That should have been called.
We talked about that. I think I sent a tweet with Rocky, throw the damn towel already, man. I'm partial to the older cats that fight, and I don't want to see him get beat up like that. Like this, the Shogun and Nogueira fight. Like I don't want to see these guys take any more damage than they need. Just if they want to fight, that's cool, but don't feed them to the hungry lions. And if you do, stop the fight early, please. Because
are we gonna have a different opinion on that fight? Because
the one that killed me was the Nunes one. When she fought Canadian homegirl, I forget her name already.
Felicia Spencer.
That one.
Oh yeah.
That one had me screaming at the TV. Like, are you kidding me?
Throw the towel.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, man. I mean, that's definitely like a weird Herb Dean moment because usually he's considered to be one of the best.
He is.
Yeah.
The question I would have too, because it's, you guys know, like every issue has a reaction and another issue. So now I'm seeing stuff where people are trying to get Dan Hardy fired or censured or something because I was so unprofessional of him to do that, to speak up. And he had to post something on his Instagram saying that he's just a passionate person. And if you were to know the fighters and what they do to get in there, and the people that are watching them and worried for them and stuff, that they expect them. And the thing is, you had Dan Hardy who thought it was a knockout, and then you had Trinaldo who thought it was a knockout.
He didn't want to throw a punch. Yeah,
the one who didn't know it was a knockout was the one who mattered, which was
the referee,
Herb Dean. So I don't know, man. I don't fault Hardy too much for that. He's a passionate guy.
No,
but I don't know. It kind of is interesting because he is. I don't know. I still don't know where I stand on it. In one sense, I'm like, yeah, that's not professional. On the other side, I'm like, man, he's a passionate guy. He's been in the game. He knows what's up. Referees aren't immune from criticism. So maybe he could just, give him a little bit. Hey, that's twice in a row. Help him out.
It's the way I look at it when like guys like Marcus Spears and Kendrick Perkins are on like those shows and they're defending a friend of theirs and like where someone like Max Kellerman or Stephen A will have a criticism. They're not attacking their character. They have a criticism of something they do. And those guys, because they're friends and they know them personally, they defend them to the death. There was even one where I think it was Marcus Spears or it was Kendrick Perkins and Max Kellerman. And Max Kellerman was even agreeing with Kendrick, but he had a criticism about LeBron, and Kendrick was basically attacking Max Kellerman. And it's like, it's not the same thing like that, but it's because that's their nature. They grew up. I mean, that's the brotherhood. They have to defend their guys. And with Dan Hardy, he's a fighter. He's a fighter first. Yeah. He's not an analyst. Like obviously he's learning, he's trying to pick up that skill, but he's a fighter first. And
I think he's a great analyst too, though.
Yeah,
I think he is too, and I think that's you want that though. You want that person who can take the look from that perspective. You have John Anik there for a reason. You have Brendan. It's Brendan Fitzgerald. Who was the one that was today? That was on Saturday. The British guy. I can't remember his name. But you have those guys there. You have those guys there for that reason, to be the middle guy. But then you have Dan Hardy and you have Paul Felder to bring that fighter's perspective.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was the perspective that the fighter had at that moment. I think it's a lot of the fighters probably on Twitter had is Herb Dean, what the hell are you doing?
That's the thing too about MMA, where it's different than every other sport in the sense that the announcers, the commentators are personalities within themselves, right? They're not supposed to be robotic, black and white, simply calling the shots. They're supposed to have slightly elevated personalities because of what you guys were talking about, even with the whole WWE angle. And obviously this isn't the WWE, but it's that idea of, we like these guys not only because they're smart and they know what they're talking about, but we like them because they're personalities. They have emotions. They can get passionate. That's why Joe Rogan is so popular. It's because of that attitude that he brings to it. So I think it's different.
They're not logos on a helmet. They're not logos on a jersey. They are actual people. They're actual have personalities. They have certain things that they bring about. And unfortunately, just like Steve, I think Stephen had to learn it with Donald Cerrone. You're gonna have to deal with that with fighters. Like you're just have to understand that these guys, they beat people up for a living. They have their job is to let that emotion out, is to let that intensity and that passion out.
You know, and I think it was telling because, you know, Paul Felder defended Dan Hardy. He said he felt the same way. And on top of that, you know, we don't have to look so far. Paul Felder had an issue like that recently where he used his time as a commentator to call out the guy that had just won when he was interviewing him. And he said that he wouldn't feel right if I didn't call you out, you know? And that was looked at as unprofessional. But again, he's a fighter. He's an active fighter and also commentating. You know, like he said, he would be put down upon if he didn't take the opportunity. If he had that stage to call this guy out, the same way with Dan Hardy, he has the opportunity. He's right there with Herb Dean. He knows Herb Dean on a personal level. He can call him out and say, "Hey, man, you need to stop the fight and protect these fighters." So I don't think it was big of a deal. I don't think it was. I don't think it was the most professional thing. But again, I think he did the right thing. I probably would have done something similar in the same situation.
Yeah, and I think this is the only sport that they have active competitors commentating. You don't have active basketball players commentating games. You don't have active baseball players or football players commentating games. They're all retired players.
Hold on. Because Showtime does have that show on football where they had an active player. What's his name from the Redskins who was in the Panthers? Josh Norman. Is it Josh Norman?
Oh, Josh Norman, the corner.
Yeah, he was on there. He's been on there on the Showtime, whatever show they do every week for their NFL coverage. And it's not live, but it's still he's active and he's commentating on, in division games, you know, potential opponents and stuff like that. So I think that's the only time I've seen it where they're still in the league where they're actually commentating on it.
Yeah.
All right, Andres, you want to go ahead and take
I'll be right back, guys. Give me one.
All right, no problem. Yeah. But yeah, man, I 100% agree. But the thing is, this was a great fight from top to bottom. Trinaldo and Herbert were going back and forth.
That was a really good fight, man.
And like I said, it sucks that this is the mainstay point that we're getting from this fight. It's upsetting because it was such a great fight. Trinaldo looked fantastic, dude. So did Herbert for such a young guy. He looked fantastic against a veteran. And just got caught. It wasn't anything crazy. He wasn't getting dominated. He just got caught with an overhead punch that went right to the button and turned the lights off. There's nothing else to say about it.
It was a different button with the delayed lights off switch.
Oh man, that was an insane delay, man.
He hit him on the top of the head and it kind of snapped his head back, which is kind of weird, man. But yeah, man, both of these guys look great. They both had their moments. Herbert was stunning. Trinaldo was busting up Herbert and Herbert. I think it was Herbert's debut in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
He looked phenomenal, man. He doesn't take too much in this loss just because of how well he looked beforehand. He's gonna learn from it as well. But like you said, it just kind of it kind of sucks a little bit that the big part that we're getting from it is all this controversy with the late stoppage, with Herb Dean, and then with Dan Hardy afterwards. So
yeah, man, definitely. All right, let's go. We got Andres back, and now we're getting into the fights that you watch, brother.
Yeah,
we're getting to the main card. Yeah. So I want y'all to go ahead and start on this one. I actually have to step away for a second. I'll be right back also, but y'all go ahead and break this one down.
Sure. Okay, so the first
it's Khamzat Chimaev versus Reese McKee.
Yes, versus Mr. Reese McKee. So did you get a chance to see this fight, Andres?
Yeah, so I'm pulling it up right now. Remind me about this one real quick, man. Sorry about that.
This is the guy who's a Dagestani guy, and he fought on 10 days turnaround, because he fought 10 days ago and he dominated that fight. He wanted to fight again. Dana White said, you know what, this kid has something, so I'm gonna put him in there again. And he puts him in there again against this guy, Reese McKee, who's no scrub either. And I don't know, what did you see in that fight?
Yeah, I mean, just ground game all the way, right? That's complete dominance all the way down. It's interesting, right? Because I don't want to stereotype, but at the same time, it's insane how good these wrestlers, how good they are at wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Dagestani, just the ability to hold him down and just completely dominate from the top. That's pretty much all he had to do, and that's what he did.
Yeah, man, he ragdolled him. He picked him up right away, threw him down. He carried him over to his corner so he can have the corner in his ear telling him what to do, which I don't even really think he needed it. But he had a really good, they call it the Dagestani handcuff, where he reaches his arm behind him and pushes his arm behind. And then he also has the mount from the sitting position, where he ties his feet underneath so you can't move. And yeah, man, it was just sheer dominance. He beat this guy up, and you know credit to Reese McKee for lasting as long as he did, but it was just inevitable. He was going to get taken down and beat up. And Chimaev now is the darling of the UFC.
Yes.
Dana White wants to put him on the August 15th card, which if Dana White says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And they're going to push him, man. They're going to push him. And it's funny because Daniel Cormier said at least Khabib throws a couple feints and punches to pretend like he's not trying to take you down, but Chimaev just looks like he was a dog that was let loose off his leash, and he's just going after you to take you down. So yeah, I mean, he's a darling of it. I will caution people. I've seen some of his other fights that aren't in the UFC. I think they might have been amateur, and he's been knocked out standing. So his striking is nowhere near even Khabib's, and Khabib is not the greatest. No. So he's gonna have to take whoever he fights down, but I don't think that's a problem right now. And
I would say that's why he's not allowing his opponents to throw a punch, because I believe in his two fights none of his opponents have not thrown a punch, or they've thrown punches.
He's only been hit twice in two fights.
Yeah. So luckily with the AirPods, I can hear y'all while I was doing my business, and with the Dagestani comment, Andres, I think is because they probably throw them to a bear, just like they do. Just go out there. It's your 5th birthday. We got a bear for you.
You got to pin him down. Yeah.
You got to wrestle him down to the mat. I need a count of 3, and then you can have your presents.
Yeah. It's your 10th birthday. You get 2 bears.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's crazy, right? Because even if you think about it, my comment on GSP, the idea of GSP, the reason why he was considered so great was because his wrestling was just bonkers, so strong. Mm-hmm. All he had to do was take you to the ground. I mean, it just so happened to be that it was actually a pretty good striker too, and he can keep up. But Khabib is just like a different level when it comes to taking people down. He can take anyone down.
Yeah, what Khabib does is he makes it uncomfortable, where GSP would take you down and he would basically keep you there where he needs you to go and do what he needs to do. With Khabib, he makes that a very uncomfortable 25 or 15 minutes, however long you're going to be in the octagon with him. It's extremely uncomfortable. We heard it in his fight against Poirier. Poirier said, "I can't get him off me." And I told you, like, I don't like hearing that. Like, it's I know it's Khabib, but that's how uncomfortable he makes you.
That was another because of Alec is not hearing.
I don't like hearing that, man. It's also it reminds me of like when Sam Darnold on on the sidelines said, I'm seeing ghosts because he kept throwing interceptions. Like, don't admit like freely like that you can't compete. It looks bad. But Poirier is probably gonna get a championship match soon. Who knows? But it's something about that. And this Chimaev guy, if he can basically just take you down straight to the ground, like you said, no feints, no nothing. Don't even have to act like I'm gonna basically the Ben Askren approach. The only unlucky thing is in this division, you got a guy who's gonna throw a knee at you that first takedown you go at.
Yep.
You will eventually run into Masvidal, and he will eventually throw a knee at you. The question is, can you take the knee? Can you land the knee?
He's gonna run into Robbie Lawler before Masvidal. I can tell you that much.
Oh, I would love this, man. And Robbie Lawler was gonna take all that frustration he had on Askren out on Chimaev, but Chimaev, I don't know how to pronounce it, but like you said, this is the darling. This is the one that everyone's all of a sudden, I want to see him go up against Usman. He needs a lot of fights. I think he needs about 3 more fights before he does that. But if he wants to get back in that octagon on the 15th, I say, you don't get paid by the hour in MMA. Go out there and make quick work of these guys, and you'll be getting fights lined up back to back to back to back. Look at Herb Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did the exact same thing.
One thing I will say, I'll ask you, Alec, because you said you don't like hearing that. When can they say, I can't get him off me? I mean, that's valuable insight to the corner to tell them, to give him some more feedback on what they can do. If he can't say a thing, when can he say it?
Just say, like, what did he say? He said, I can't get him off me. Say, hey man, he's all over me. Like, he's all over me. That's different. Like, then I can't get him off me. I can't get him off me makes it sound like I'm done. Like, I can't win this fight. He's all over me sounds like the dude's persistent. I got to find some way to keep him standing. But I can't get him off me sounds like I'm already done. Like, and I told you that when we talked about that fight, he was done before it was actually done. And it was upsetting to see, because I don't want to see a guy like, there are times where we're watching fighters and I feel bad for the fighter that's getting whooped, because I don't want to see that. Like, it's not fun to watch that. Yeah. And it did upset me. Like, it made me like very uncomfortable watching the way Khabib was handling Poirier. Yeah. And it's because he gave up. He was done. I think mentally he was broken down. I think he had practiced defending that wrestling, that takedown over and over again in his camp. He couldn't defend the first one, and then his spirit broke. Yeah. But it goes both ways. Like, you can have the same thing with a fighter. I'm gonna throw my best punch. It didn't knock him out, and all of a sudden, I don't know what I'm gonna do to win this fight. It was just the opposite with Poirier. I did everything right in training. I still couldn't stop it.
I just like getting Alec riled up.
I know, man. Everyone does. You can't see it, but in person, I usually have if I get angry and I'm having debates, you can see a vein pop out of my neck. Yeah. My stepdad does things on purpose to make the vein pop out. But
it's that mental sport aspect, right? Where if you're already saying that, then it's over.
Exactly. And Jesus, you said it multiple times. The minute in MMA or boxing, the minute you mention retirement, it's probably time to retire.
Yep.
Because you're going to go in there, you're going to get hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But all right, let's move on to this next welterweight fight, and this is an exciting fight. I forgot to mention, Chimaev got the other performance of the night bonus. I think that was the 4th out of 6, and yes, well deserved, absolutely. Next up, we got Alex Oliveira taking on Peter Sabata, welterweight division, and this was a great fight, man. This was a really great fight. Alex Oliveira is just, I don't know, he's something about him, dude. How old is he? Let me see.
He's in his mid-30s, I think. He's a gamer, though.
Yeah, man. And this Sabata guy is no joke, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He is 32 years old, man. Like, he looks like he's 40, but he's 32 years old.
Yeah.
But and this is his prime of his career. He looks really good, dude. I like the fact that he can buy, especially in his welterweight division, where it's so wrestler heavy. Like, seeing a striker, and then I'm assuming he has some jiu-jitsu as well. All those Brazilian guys got jiu-jitsu in their blood, basically. So I like to see him go a little, make something of this win. He's got 2 in a row now.
Yeah, he beat Max Griffin in March.
Yeah,
so 2-0 in 2020.
So I'd like to see him go on a little run, man.
Yeah, I mean, his range is some of the craziest range I've ever seen. The fact that he could just keep the fighters away by those kicks is incredible. Those midsection kicks looked so painful. My God.
You know, oh, look at him, the champ. The champ is
He's
here.
up.
Hey.
He woke up. Say hi. Okay. All right. Let me get to your mom. Let me get.
You know, one of the I guess offshoots, or I don't know how to explain it, but the thing that we're getting to see with no fans in the stands is we get to hear those kicks when they land, and the thud that you hear. It's kind of like in baseball too. We're hearing a lot of the bat crack whenever they hit a ball right on the sweet spot. That's exactly what we heard with these kicks from Oliveira. And I think he heard him. He heard Sabota a couple times with those kicks to the midsection. I think one of the announcers said it was to the solar plexus, which to me always reminds me of the WWE. You know, right in his solar plexus. I don't even know what's a solar plexus, but I mean that's where he hit him apparently. But yeah, man, like you said, he's very rangy. He's long. He's wiry. He's given a lot of people trouble. I think he has wins over Carlos Condit. He has some losses to some scrubs like Mike Perry. But like Alex said, he's kind of getting into his prime at 32. I think anywhere between 28 and 32 is kind of their prime.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he can do going forward since he's on a little 2-0 run in this weird 2020. And they're not against bad fighters. Max Griffin's a good fighter. Peter Sabota's a good fighter. So the only thing is their decisions, man. He's always does decision. Even though he hurts his opponents, he always goes to decision.
Yeah, and I'd say that Max Griffin fight was very close.
Yeah, that's true.
When we watched it. But yeah, and then once again, the welterweight division is so wrestler heavy. Like you got to have some kind of takedown defense. You have Usman at the top, and you got Covington, Woodley. Even Woodley, you still got to worry about Woodley. So and then if you have this guy Chimaev coming up the ranks, like that guy's scary. You got to get ready to work on that ground game. That might be why Masvidal might be at a disadvantage in that 170 division. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next fight. Light heavyweight, Paul Craig. I'm not even gonna pronounce it. It's Antigulov. I'm not gonna pronounce his first name. It's incredibly hard. Yeah, light heavyweight and Paul Craig. I love how he takes he tries to defend the takedown, and he was like, hold on, let me just go to the ground. He allowed him to take him down basically. And you can see him working the legs and locked in that triangle. I don't know why I like seeing triangle submissions.
That's what I said too. I feel like it's because it's difficult to nail down, and it's one of the. I feel personally like it's one that fighters have now gotten the ability to defend against. Like there's a better defense against a triangle than there is other submissions nowadays. Because I think fighters are a little bit more well-rounded than in the past when triangles were super common. I don't think I see that many triangles anymore. I think that's why I got excited when I was yelling out, "Oh, triangle!" And the fact that he got deeper when he was trying to throw the punches, and he just got deeper into the triangle, and I was like, "You're just, walking right into the trap." But yeah, I thought that was a fun finish, just because the idea of someone attempting to ground and pound and then getting caught in the triangle is just classic MMA.
Absolutely. And this guy, Paul Craig, he's had a few knockouts in a row, or he's had a few on like recently. So he had the draw against Hua, and then against Shogun, and then submission. But I know that he's had a decent amount of knockouts. So a guy like that, you would think I guess maybe Antigulov was thinking I can take him down and keep him away from my face, but went right into what Paul Craig wanted. And I think that early part of the round, 2 minutes into the round, is the best time to get that triangle. You're not as sweaty. There's no way to slip out of it. I think a lot of times what you see with the triangle also is if it's towards the end of the round, guys just slip out. People just slip out of it. And he couldn't do it.
They're sweaty. A lot of this too is when you talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA and kind of where we're at with it, there's some guys that are really good and creative and can set up traps, and I think that's kind of what happened here from like you said, he was allowing him to take him down and get taken down because he's so comfortable on his back and his jiu-jitsu. He's confident in it. and like you said, he kept throwing and it kept getting tighter and tighter. So it's just, you know, and you're right, we don't see as many certain type of submissions like a triangle as we did before, but I just think from my standpoint that would be probably because there's not as much creative traps and submissions. The guys that are comfortable will try to do it, you know. And I think in the last fight the last UFC, we saw a guy that every time he was taken down, he was doing a submission attempt. I gotta look him up again. So it just depends on the mindset of the fighter, man, and what they're willing to do and how they're willing to, you know, kind of, you know, expand on what's already been there. But not all these guys know the defense. You know, I think we saw even like in a fight that we're going to talk about, the Verdum and Gustafsson fight, man. Gustafsson, you know, left a lot of defense out there that he could have done, and he didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great triangle from Paul Craig, man.
Yeah, it looks good. He's definitely going to get I think maybe a ranked opponent this time, possibly, perhaps. I think he's probably proven it. And unfortunately, he does have that draw against Shogun. But as we saw with Shogun, like, he's still throwing nasty leg kicks, man. He still looks good for his age. And we'll talk about that fight very soon. But as next one, we have the women's strawweight division. We have Carla Esparza taking on Marina Rodriguez, number 7 versus number 9, respectively. Might be a hot take. I scored it 2-1 for Rodriguez. I didn't think Esparza won this fight. She looked incredibly uncomfortable from every aspect, even when she was. And I think even Dan Hardy mentioned it. Just because someone's on top doesn't necessarily mean that they're in control. And I think Rodriguez was throwing elbows from the bottom and cutting up Esparza's face. Jesus, you're shaking your head. I'm pretty sure you're gonna attack what I say. I mean, who knows? I'm only been following this for a while, but in my opinion, you always tell me to look at it from who would I rather be in the fight. That's how I should score each round, and that's what I did. Each round I saw, I prefer to be Rodriguez. I don't want elbows thrown in my face. I don't want to be bloodied up like that. I don't want to. Even if I got someone laying on me, I don't think Esparza was doing enough to win the fight. And a lot of people were attacking. I know I the first thing I did after I saw this fight, I typed in Carla Esparza's name on Twitter to see what was being mentioned. And a lot of people were saying that she's boring. I wouldn't necessarily say she's boring, but they were saying that she's boring. She didn't win this fight. And I was like, okay, I'm not alone. But that was my initial reaction. What
about you, Andres? What do you think?
Oh, I see. You're putting me on the spot, man, because I want to see what you're thinking, because I thought the same thing. I literally was like, oh my God, those elbows she was nailing on the bottom were so strong and powerful. And literally the first one, I yelled out. I was like, oh, because I felt it. And then she was starting to get caught up with those elbows. And it seemed like she was just doing more damage from the bottom than Carla was doing on top. I obviously gave Carla the last round, and I think it was a very significant round win. But I don't think that should necessarily determine the fight. I think it's close. I really do feel like it's closer than maybe you're saying, Alec. But at the same time, I did feel like, man, Rodriguez showed me more than maybe even Carla did in a loss than Carla did in a win.
Yeah, 2-1. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next segment. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, you know,
tell me how we're wrong.
No. The only thing I'll say is that Carla Esparza has mastered the loss in a win. You know, because she's a master of getting beat up and still winning the fight somehow. Yeah. The one thing I'll say is I mean, I think she won the fight. I think she barely won the fight, but I'm only saying it from the aspect of, you can never win a fight when you're on your back, man, unless it's a submission. You know, I mean, there's a fight out there if you guys want to go watch it if you have some time, and it's Demetrius Johnson versus Miguel Angel Torres in the WEC, and it's 3 rounds of Demetrius Johnson laying in Miguel Angel Torres's guard and getting beat up and just getting straight beat up and you know, trying not to get submitted. And it was a runaway win for Miguel Angel Torres, and they gave it to Demetrius Johnson because it's just, you can't win on your back in MMA with this rule set. So yeah, I agree with you guys. Yeah, she was probably taking damage. You could see it in her face. She took a picture. Her eye ballooned up to the size of a grapefruit, but you can't win off your back. You have to get up and you have to fight unless you're going for submissions and using those submission attempts to reverse position. If not, you're going to lose. And this is a perfect example of it. So that's why, like, I kind of agree with you guys to in a sense, but in this sport, you're going to lose, you know? And that's why Esparza, you know, loses when she wins. And she's done that 4 attempts in a row. She has a 4-fight win streak, and I can argue that she lost all those fights.
And it's always interesting, right? Because I think the third round kind of sealed the deal for her. And that shouldn't matter, right? But at the same time, it still kind of does, because in the back of the judges' minds is like, how did you finish the fight? And every time you could finish good, that's what she did. But even then, man, I don't know if it was round 2 or 1. It might have been round 1, where Rodriguez was holding her arms in and on her back, and then just started nailing her with those top elbows. I don't even know if Carla did any damage to her on top. And it was like, wait a minute, am I seeing Rodriguez just to, like, win the round by those nasty elbows? And sure enough, that's what I thought. But again, that third round was pretty significant for Carla, so I think that's what did it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Pride rules, that's probably how the fight ends up going. Just the same way, because you know, it's not round by round; it's the whole fight, you know, collectively. And we saw it with Dominic Reyes and John Jones. Dominic Reyes wins, and arguably, in my opinion, 3 rounds, but those last 4 rounds stick in the judge's mind. And then if you have a close round, like one of those rounds, like I think maybe there is one of those close rounds, because it was a split decision. It wasn't unanimous. It was split for Esparza and Rodriguez, but those last few rounds or last moments stick in those judges' minds. And that third round was, no doubt about it, was Esparza. She did what she had to do. She wasn't taking the damage from the elbows like before. I'm assuming maybe Rodriguez got gassed because having to it sucks. I want to see more from Rodriguez. I'm trying to look to see. I don't think Rodriguez was they're 7-9. So Rodriguez doesn't. I don't think she's gonna move down from this fight, but I also don't think Esparza is gonna move up from this fight.
And
unfortunately,
4 wins in a row, man. They're
4 wins in a row. All right, let me look at the strawweight, because strawweight is very, very top heavy.
Yeah, remember,
we talk about this all the time.
She's the original strawweight champion.
She's original strawweight champion. So above her, she's got Gadella, who won a very close fight between her and Angela Hill. You have Ansarov, who's pregnant. You have Tatiana Suarez, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who we're assuming might be retired. Then you have Andrade and Namajunas. This is very, like we said, very top heavy, and but Esparza could be a bad matchup for some of these women. She could be a bad matchup for a Namajunas or an Andrade, because Andrade is a full-on. I'm going to stand up with you.
I think she has a win over Namajunas.
Does she?
Yeah, at the very beginning of Namajunas' career for the belt, I think.
So there's like she has that fighting style that could be a problem for some of these women at the top, because the top of the strawweight division is very striking heavy. Zhang, Wei Li, Namajunas, Andrade, even Joanna. All these women love to throw.
She has a loss to Tatiana Suarez. She has a loss to Claudia Gadella. And
you know why? The Gadella, I'm assuming, I haven't seen the fight, but Gadella likes to go to the ground. Gadella is a jiu-jitsu girl, so she's willing to go to the ground with you. She's not going to be on her back for long. She will be working to get that top position.
Oh, Andres, I know why. Alec doesn't like Carla Esparza. I just figured it out. 2 and 2 together.
Why?
She has a win over Alexa Grasso. That's what it is.
Oh, I do like Alexa Grasso, but not enough to the point where I would hate. Well, I would openly hate on somebody. I just think that because a lot of people were saying that she lost that Waterson fight. I thought she won that Waterson fight.
I thought she won the Waterson fight too. I mean, I thought she won that fight too. This fight, I think she won, but like I said, based on the judging of MMA, and what I wanted to say too is it sucks, because I think Pride rules would be the best rule set for MMA in the world, I guess, just because you look at it as the overall fight, and then they also get yellow cards if they're stalling, which she would have gotten yellow cards for stalling and just laying on top of her, which would have moved the fight forward and got him standing back up. but it's just so foreign a concept for us here in the United States to have an overall,
it's hard not to look round by round.
Yeah, it's
it really is.
It's so weird because it makes sense from a fight standpoint. Like, okay, well, you got the first round, but he beat the crap out of you in the second round way more than you beat him in the first round. We just had a fight like that too. Oh, the Volkanovski and Holloway fight.
The Holloway fight, yeah.
Where Holloway beat the crap out of Volkanovski and had him hurt a couple times, but then Volkanovski maybe won on points in the other rounds. If you look at it from an overall fight perspective, I'd want to beat Holloway, and I would have won that fight. But from an MMA judging standpoint, they gave it to Volkanovski. So I don't know, man. It's just so foreign to us. But that's unfortunately that's the rule set that we have, and we're probably gonna have going forward.
And it's also because judges are afraid to give, because you said the winner gets 10 points of the round, and the loser gets between 1 and 9 points. Mm-hmm. I think judges are afraid to give 9 or 8 or 7. I think we've only seen it a few times recently, and it's when it's someone's completely dominating.
Well, they said that in the last Chimia fight, they gave him a 10-7 round.
Yeah, exactly. It's just something like that. But it's all right. We'll see what happens with Esparza. She has a bunch of opponents that she could possibly take at the 115.
Rematches with Gadella and Suarez are there.
Rematch. Well, yeah, you have the rematch with Gadella and Suarez.
Are you guys already giving Rose the title shot?
Yeah, I am.
Well, I guess we are, only because we think Jurjevic is retired, because she posted on Instagram 33 and retired. So if she retires, then probably it goes to Rose. If she's not retired, I think we have a good shot at getting a rematch, because that was such a great fight. And such
I remember that fight.
Yeah,
that fight was crazy. Yeah.
That was actually the last fight that me and him. I went to his house and we watched it live, and actually did a live stream during the fight card, right before the COVID stuff happened. And man, it was an amazing fight.
Yeah, such a good fight.
And we actually had differing opinions in that fight.
Yeah, we did.
Jesus thought Joanna won, and I thought Weili won. So that happens often.
Yeah.
It does happen often, because we look at it differently. I looked at it from the volume and from the kind of octagon control and what Jurjevic was doing and how she was setting her up. And Weili,
I look at it from damage.
Yeah, Weili was just landing, one shot at a time with damage, and the thing is too, Joanna didn't take it as well. She had that big bulbous thing coming out of her head, so it didn't look good. It didn't look good for the judges. But if you take that away, I mean, it is damage. But if you just don't look at it as, oh my God, this damage, if you just look at it from a striking perspective, I think Joanna did more.
Yeah.
And then the other one we had that same thing was Hooker versus Felder.
Yeah.
I thought Hooker won that fight. And
I had Felder winning that fight, dude, because Hooker was just doing all these little and you know what? It came back to bite him against Poirier, because he tried to do the same thing against Poirier, and Poirier is much more astute in the game, and he didn't let him get away with those little cheap, takedowns at the end of the round to steal the round. Yeah, Felder was just, I guess, teeing off more and being more forceful and coming forward, versus Hooker was just, it looked like he was just trying to survive for the last 2 rounds, I think, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next round, next fight, and this is the last of our performance bonuses. And the living legend Fabricio Verdum with a big time win, man, against Alexander Gustafsson. Gustafsson's first soiree in the heavyweight division. But I'm gonna tell you right now, man. All right, so I read the results first. I got the results read through ESPN. Verdum submits Gustafsson, and I was like, my brother texted me about Gustafsson because he likes him, and I was like, man, I don't want him to retire now. I said maybe he should, losing to Verdum isn't good. But then I watched the fight, and it's a whole different story.
Mm-mm.
Like, as soon as he went to the ground, I mean, Verdum was at home.
Yeah, I mean,
Verdum was home, and there's no shame in losing to the living legend.
Man, Verdum was taking so many arms and legs home, dude, in the heavyweight division. I would say he's probably top 2 or 3 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in MMA. And he's at heavyweight, and he's a big dude, and he's smart, and he can punch. So no, man, there's no what is it called, embarrassment or whatever, shame in losing to Verdum. What I will say is this is the same thing as Gustafsson. He's bad on the ground, John Jones, decided to fight standing his first fight with Gustafsson. He realized, holy crap, maybe I shouldn't do that because this guy's a good striker. And the second fight that he fought Gustafsson, he just took him to the ground and smashed him because Gustafsson doesn't really have a ground game and to speak of. And I'm talking about wrestling or jiu-jitsu. So that's what Verdum did. If you looked at it on the feet, he didn't look bad, and he was catching them and kicking and moving around, and he was, light on his feet. And then when he got taken down, and you saw how much of a dog Verdum was to get that fight to the ground because he knew that once it's on the ground, it's game over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the way he was working that arm was just incredible. Like he just literally, I don't even know if it was Dan Hardy or someone else, where it was like, oh, I mean, this guy's not going to give up. He's going to get that arm bar. And sure enough, he got it. And I was like, oh, like when he's committed to getting a submission, it's just going in no matter what. He's so strong on the ground.
Yeah, man. And the patience too, to have the patience. A lot of other guys, I think that's what they don't realize is they lose the patience. Like, oh, I don't have it. He's holding on to the hand. But Verdum is so patient. He understands the game of jiu-jitsu and leverage. And honestly, man, this is what I'm saying, where Gustafsson left it on the table is he had so much time to position himself to counter that move. There's two counters to that move, and he had one specifically set up that he could have done, and instead, which was and I think Hardy talked about it, where you bridge your back and you kind of jump over so you can get your arm in a different direction so you can bend it, and when you do that, you end up on top. And now I'm not saying it's easy to do it against Verdum. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is it's the beginning of the fight. You have the most energy in the fight. It's way easier to accomplish that at the beginning of the fight than it is towards the end of the fight. And he didn't even do it, man. So either he's like, I'm not going to get taken down. I'm not going to do any jiu-jitsu with him. Or he's just like, man, his jiu-jitsu is so far ahead. I'm not even going to defend jiu-jitsu. If I get taken down, it's over. Because that's something that you drill over and over and over. He gets you in this position. You have to do this to get out of the armbar. And he did nothing. He really did nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I said, man, he's the living legend, man, Verdum. Because don't forget, I think it was his last fight. He didn't look good at all. Verdum, 3 rounds and was just slow. I forgot who it was against.
But he was coming. He fought. I forgot who. But he was coming off of injury, so it was ring rust. I attributed ring rust. He's older. It was a miracle he went to 3 rounds.
It was Olenek. Alexei Olenek.
Yeah, against Olenek, man. Come on, dude. Olenek
is just as old as him, man. Like it's insane. Those two guys are crazy, but Verdum gets a big win here, man. Like he all of a sudden says, "Hey guys, I'm not gone. I'm still here." He's still ranked number 14. I don't know necessarily he'll move up or down because of this fight. I don't think it's enough to move up per se. But then again, Walt Harris didn't have a great showing against why am I blanking? Overeem. So maybe he moves up over Walt Harris because that's who is above him. Above him he's got Pavlovich, who we haven't seen fight in a while. Abdurakhimov, Olenek, who's not Verdum's not going to go over him, and then Walt Harris. So maybe he'll go over those two guys, but those two guys haven't had a chance to fight lately. So he might just stand pat at 14.
Yeah, he has some fights ahead of him that he needs if he's going to want to move up. But I'm not going to count him out going forward, man. He's, like you said, he's a living legend. If you don't,
he goes to the ground. That's it, man.
If you don't have your jiu-jitsu ready, you're going to be tapped.
Yeah, it was cool to see him, man. And we basically got to see 3 living legends on this card. Because the next fight is 2 living legends on this card. One retiring, one that still wants to fight. Mauricio Shogun Hua taking on Antonio Rogerio
Noguera
Minotauro. He's got 500 names. But and I believe because when we first started this podcast, Jesus, we would give each other, I would give you a wrestling match, you'd give me a fight. You gave me their first fight, if I'm not mistaken.
From 2005.
And it was fantastic. It was great. I haven't watched the second fight, but I know that Shogun wins. It was not upsetting because I just wanted to see Minotauro go out on a high note. But he put on a hell of a fight. But thing is, man, Shogun still has that power, dude. He rocked Minotauro multiple times in all 3 rounds. He rocked him a couple times, even though Minotauro was giving him the business a few times. It was fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
That's why when you said you didn't want to see these guys taking damage, I was like, maybe, yeah. But then you clarified and you were like, against the younger guys, I got that.
Yeah.
But this fight was fantastic. I could have saw them go 2 more rounds.
Yeah,
I
man.
could have watched them go 2
I
more.
mentioned that they should have some sort of a elder circuit, where the elder guys fight each other, because you can tell, man. You can tell these guys are. I mean, just looking at Nogueira, man, like he hesitated a lot, and which it wasn't what he used to do when he was in his prime, and you could tell him, fainting, hesitating, which their skill set is lower, but when you match him up against somebody that has the same declining skill set or fast twitch muscles or what have you, you get a fight like this, which is an evenly matched fight. And that's exactly what this was, man. You got an evenly matched fight where, Shogun still does some things really well, which is, landing those hard leg kicks and countering and having a chin, even at his age and all the wars he's had. And you get Nogueira, who's a student of the game still and has probably some of the greatest boxing in the division. And you get a good fight, a really good fight between 2 aging veterans, legends. I don't know if I would have wanted Nogueira to win, just because I've always thought Shogun was a better fighter since the first fight. But I've always liked the Nogueira brothers. They're twins. They have crazy backstory too, with I think one of them having an accident and almost dying or something of that nature. And they're just fun. It's a fun rivalry that they've always had. One was from Shootbox, one was from Black House. So it's a crazy story, man. They fought in 2005. They fought in 2015, I think, and then they fought in the year 2020. So 15 years apart. They've had 3 fights. Shogun has won all 3 of them. They put on the last fight too was pretty good, but the first fight is an all-time classic that any MMA fan should see. But yeah, man, it was a good fight. I had it for Shogun. It sucks that Nogueira is retiring to the end of an era. But I mean, it's well deserved, man. He's put his time in this game. He's gonna go down as a legend. And I was glad to see him fight and not get put to sleep ugly. He was competitive in his last fight.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I want to say, before you give your expert opinion, I just want to give the stats from this fight. So out of total strikes, Shogun hit 78 out of 129 strikes for a 60%, and Minotauro hit 75 out of 129, 58%. That's how close this fight was. Significant strikes, 54 out of 103 for 52%, and 46 out of 100 for 46%. The only difference is the 2 takedowns that Shogun lands. So that's how close it was, man.
That's how close it was. And honestly, that's my takeaway, is that yes, I gave it to Shogun as well, but it's closer than people think, because I think the takedowns kind of sealed it for him, because Nogueira hurt him. I don't know if it was the first round or the second round. My memory is joggy, but he hurt him with that left a few times, I believe.
That left jab, that left right down the middle.
And I remember Shogun going backwards, like, oh damn, like I didn't expect that kind of power from this geezer.
The few times that he actually took it, he immediately went to the takedown. Because it hurt him that much. And Dan Hardy said a couple of times, like, that's what fighters do when they need to recover. You get hit hard, you go straight to that for that takedown. You panic wrestle.
Exactly.
But, I mean, it's different when Shogun's doing it. It's not panic wrestling. But we've seen a bunch of fighters that aren't Shogun panic wrestle.
And then get guillotined right away.
But then with this, and I think Dan Hardy said it the most, is that Nogueira was ready to. This is his last fight. He's putting it all out on the line, whereas Shogun wants to continue to fight. So those last takedowns were to secure the win. He's not trying to have a slugfest with Minotauro, especially after getting rocked the way he did. He was trying to secure the win as someone who's still going to continue to fight. Minotauro was going out on his shield no matter what. And it was great to watch, man. Like it sucks fun to see another career go down like that, but it's something we can always look back on. Is he in the Hall of Fame yet? I don't know.
Nogueira? I don't think so, man. If he does, he'd go in because of his pride accomplishments, not his UFC accomplishments. But man, Rua makes up 30% of Nogueira's losses, man. He only has 10 losses. Crazy. 3 of them were to Shogun.
That's crazy.
And it's not bad. He is, man.
Yeah, it's not bad to lose to Shogun, man. It's not bad to lose to Shogun. But it's just crazy, man. It's the end of an era, and I don't know. I really enjoyed the fight, man.
It was so much fun, especially for an old people fight or for an older guy fight. Because every time you see those, or at least every time I see those, you just never know what you're gonna get as far as quality. But these guys showed out, and they showed up, and it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I remember seeing this card, and I was like, I don't really care about that because there's no stakes, there's no nothing. But
Yeah.
dude, these guys came out and they showed out. Loved it.
Yeah.
All right, man. The main event, and it was an exciting main event. Whittaker versus Till. Till, the fastest rising star in the middleweight division right now, comes off of getting knocked out by Masvidal last year. Goes right into battle against Gastelum, wins that fight in a very close fight, and decides he said the only person he doesn't want to fight is Yoel Romero. I don't blame him. But he comes into this fight against Whittaker, and even I think I gave you my prediction before the fight started. Jesus, I said Whittaker in the fourth by knockout or TKO, and I was wrong in terms of how it ended, but I do think Whittaker won 4-1. Till won that first round with that nasty elbow. But I think it was because maybe Whittaker was a little rusty.
Mm-hmm.
He did get knocked out twice in that fight against Adesanya. I will constantly say that. He's the only fighter in UFC history to be knocked out twice in one fight. Because he got knocked out at the end of that first round. They probably should have called it, but they didn't. But Whittaker looked good, man. Whittaker looked fantastic, but Till also. I don't know. At one point, Till just started looking comfortable against Whittaker. Like he couldn't maneuver his way around Whittaker at one point. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But he just couldn't find his way around Whittaker. And I think it was that knockdown in the second round. That knockdown may have hurt his confidence and made him not want to go in. And we'll get into why in a minute. But good win from Whittaker. I don't know if he's locked down a title shot yet, but definitely looking to see more Whittaker, man. He might have a little boost, a little energy boost, and maybe like fallen in love. We said the same thing with Namajunas. He might have fallen out of love with the game, because when you're champion, sometimes you can fall out of love with it. I think in this fight you kind of saw that love there again.
Yeah, yeah, those guys were having fun during the whole fight.
Yeah.
Like a lot of fun, which I thought was good to see, right? I like both these guys, so this was definitely one where I was like, man, I like both these guys. I kind of want both these guys to win, but I had it the same way, and it's interesting because a lot of people didn't. I don't know if you guys saw Twitter, but I had just one round for Darren Till, kind of close last round, but that was, to me, it was all Whittaker. Not a super dominant fight. But I think I think his knee was kind of what took Till out of the game or out of the fight. And I think that's what made him so hesitant to throw anything crazy. That was my takeaway from it. But I don't know if you thought the same, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about a lot with Darren Till and how I didn't used to like Darren Till when he was a welterweight. I felt like he was rushed to the top. He thought he was better than when he was, and he got to the top, the cream of the crop. They exposed him, and he was also one that didn't want to get better. He just thought that his skill set was at the top already. And when he got humbled, I was glad to see that he went back to the drawing board, and he's gotten better since he was at welterweight. That fight with Kevin Gastelum really kind of shined the light on his new skill set and what he's capable of doing. In this fight, he was hesitant. He was very hesitant. He did say that whenever Whittaker hit him with that downwards kick, he felt his whole knee pop. And then in between rounds, he told his team that his knee was damaged, and the announcer was whispering it to the fans watching at home because it's so quiet. He didn't want to give Whittaker's team the heads up that his knee was compromised. Excuse me. So, that was part of the hesitation. Also, him getting knocked down by Whittaker was a hesitation. I mentioned to Alec that whenever he got knocked out by Masvidal, it's the first time he's been knocked out like that, where he was knocked out cold. And that's being knocked out by basically a bloated lightweight, because Masvidal is a small welterweight. He used to fight at 155 at lightweight. So if a lightweight can knock him out and turn his lights off, what's a big middleweight going to do? And Whittaker used to fight at 170. So now he's at 185, and he's big. He's grown into it as a 6'1" or 6'2" guy. He's grown into the middleweight division, and he felt the power too. So he was very, very hesitant. You could see the traps that Whittaker was setting up, and Till was walking into some of those, and he was missing by just a little bit, man. If you go back and look at some of those overhand rights, Whittaker was missing by just a little bit. So, and Whittaker said it too, man, which I thought was amazing, that it was a very stressful and exhausting fight mentally, because both of these guys are such high level strikers that you mess up, and you're gonna get knocked out, And Whittaker, to his credit, what I was mentioning to Alec was that Whittaker's fought so many more tougher guys than Till. Have you guys had a chance to see him fight against Romero, the both fights?
Yeah, I saw one of those. Yeah, I don't think I saw the other one.
Okay, did you, Alec?
I think it's the first one.
You saw the first one, or you didn't see it?
I did see the first one.
Yeah. So when you look at that fight and the damage that Romero put on Whittaker, and Whittaker was still able to come back and win, Whittaker knows what he's capable of from a damage standpoint, and who he's fought. From Till's standpoint, he hasn't really beat the top of a division. He hasn't really, when he gets to the top, he gets beat up. He got beat up by Tyron Woodley, man, who's 5'6", 170 pounds. Mm-hmm. And when you fight a guy like Whittaker, you're gonna get beat up. So I just feel that that's why he was hesitant. If you look at the fight, he only landed 50 punches or 50 strikes in the whole fight, man. That's if you average it out, that's 10 strikes a round. There's no way you can win that in a championship fight or a 5-round fight. So I had Whittaker winning. Not easily. I can see where it was kind of close, but he just did way more damage, man. He's just more experienced. He knows what it takes to win. He wasn't scared. He got knocked down. He was a flash knockdown. He wasn't out of it. He said himself that, after that, he was like, okay, well, now I got to focus again. I got to be focused because he can't put me down. But he didn't get scared. Instead, he rose to the challenge and he put it on Till. And that's what we saw. We saw a better fighter winning the fight, and Till still needing to grow some more to become a top fighter if he's capable of that. I still don't know if Till's capable of that. Every time he gets to the top, he falters. So we'll see. He's still young. I think he's 27 years old. So he still has some time to continue to grow into his skill set.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen real quick, guys, and we're going to look at the rankings for the middleweight division, because like I said, the middleweight division is probably the third most interesting division at the moment. And you have it right here. So you have 1 through 9. Obviously, Adesanya at the top, who is going against number 2, Paulo Costa. And then you have number 1, Whittaker, Cannonier, and Yoel Romero. But I believe Cannonier is scheduled to fight. Is it Uriah Hall?
Is it?
I don't know. I feel like Cannonier was scheduled, but he might not be. I might be wrong. And you got Yoel Romero, who definitely needs to. I think he needs to have a fight soon if he wants to jump back into that title contention, because of how bad that fight against Adesanya was for both guys. It was just a bad fight all around. So Yoel Romero definitely needs a fight. Then you have number 5, Darren Till. I don't think Darren Till is going to go down. Maybe he'll go down to 6 because of Hermansson's impressive win against Gastelum recently. But I wouldn't per se. But there's a lot of fights you can do around here. So you have, because then you have number 8 Brunson and Shabazian, who are going to be fighting this weekend. That's going to tell a lot for where the division could possibly go. But Whittaker, I want to see Whittaker fight one more. I don't want to see him go straight to a title fight again because of how bad he looked against Adesanya. I want to see him maybe go another. I want to see him at least get a knockout before he fights Adesanya again, or some kind of finish. I don't even need to see a knockout, but a finish. There's guys like Brunson. Maybe they'll do Yoel Romero 3 and Romero and Whittaker 3. I don't know. But
who do you guys think will take the winner of the Brunson Shabazian fight? Winner.
That's tough. Because
it depends on who it is.
Brunson's so much bigger.
Yeah.
If it's Shabazian, I think they're going to try to protect him because he would be a prospect. So they'll probably give him an easier fight, which they might think is Kelvin Gastelum or maybe even a Darren Till.
I was going to say Darren Till.
Yeah,
there's no easy fights in this division. That's crazy, though.
I mean,
like, unless you want to go below yourself, there's no easy fights in this division.
I know we say that, but like from a matchmaking standpoint, like you look at Kelvin Gastelum, he's lost how many in a row, dude? So
He lost 2 or 3 in a row.
So they're gonna say, "Oh, that's an easy win for Shabazian. It's a name. He's on a losing streak. Let's put him in against Kelvin Gastelum." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he has to get moved up. You still have to move Shabazian. If he wins, he's gonna jump up to probably 7. He's not gonna pass from Manson.
No.
Right. So then you got to see who you're gonna put him up. One more fight to get him to the top, because you don't want to ruin his undefeated record. You want to build him up. So you got to see what's the easiest route for him. If Brunson wins, Brunson's probably moving to 7. He's not gonna pass Hermanson. So then you got a Brunson versus Hermanson right there, and you're still building up Hermanson because he has a big win over Kelvin Gastelum. It just depends on who wins and how they. You know,
it also depends how, because and this is another thing. And you told me to keep that same energy. I don't like when a main event is 3 rounds. It bothers the hell out of me. I think that's not really a main event. If you're the co-main event, even though, and this is different from the other one, because the last one was Zabit and Qatar.
Yes.
So Zabit and Qatar, they got moved. I think it was in the middle of the week. What was it? Volkov. Alexander Volkov had to drop out, and they had to move the fight. So because of that, the fight got changed to they dropped out. Zabit versus Qatar becomes the main event, and I'm assuming they went to both guys, said, "Do y'all want to make it a 3 or a 5?" And they just go off of that, some kind of negotiations. I think that you gotta, like, if you're the co-main event, you gotta be ready. Like, hey, if that fight doesn't go through, we gotta be ready to go 5. So train 5 and be ready to go. And you saw with Zabit and Qatar that possibly gave Zabit a win that he probably didn't deserve, because he slowed down that 3rd round. And if that fight goes round 4, round 5, Qatar possibly either gets a knockout or a decision victory because he's starting to turn up. I say the same thing with this. If this fight goes 3 rounds, I wouldn't move either guy. Both guys probably stay. Shabazian and Brunson stay at the same spot. And if you can find a matchup for them to go forward, then sure. But maybe schedule another fight for between those two, because if it comes down to finding a new contender, and this is the main event, you have way more time you had way more time than there's a beat in Qatar, because this is 2 whole weeks basically that you knew that you're going to be the main event. You're telling me you can't get ready for 5 rounds in 2 weeks? Yeah, I don't know. It's bad, man.
And it's Shabazian. Shabazian's the one who turned it down, and part of the reason why I don't like Shabazian is, again, his management team, which includes Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was on with Dana White, and they were talking about it. I don't know if it was a Facebook Live or something, and she was sticking up for him and giving all this BS excuses about why not for 5 rounds, and it's a different mindset, and you have to conserve energy. And I've been there. I was a champion, and and it's just like, I mean, in my opinion, it's BS, man. Like, I feel if you have enough time, you need to go 5 rounds. You're the main event. This has been going on for a while. Step up, man. Step up to the big leagues. You're not a prospect anymore. You're fighting a big time guy. Go in there, and even then, like, just be prepared for 5 rounds. But you're going in there to finish the fight, man. You're not going in there to fight 5 rounds. So I don't know. I think it's just a bad look. I'm glad you kept the same energy that you did with Zabit.
Yeah, don't try to Shannon sharp me.
You gave Zabit such a hard time. And it was literally like a week's notice. Like they couldn't do anything for cardio, but you're like, no, he should have gone 10 rounds.
I'm not Skip Bayless. I don't flip flop my points. If I'm one way, I'm gonna stick that way. I said the same thing about Zabit. I'm gonna say the same thing about Shabazian. Even though I like the kid, if you're not ready to go 5 rounds, what are you doing? When you fight a champion, you got to go 5 rounds, baby. And if you're expecting to finish the guy in 3 rounds, then what does it matter you taking a 5-round fight if you're gonna finish him within 3 rounds? Like, come on, dude. Like, and Shabazian's had like his most recent fights have been like 1st-round finishes. Yeah, you should be expecting that.
Yeah, but it's a big step up in competition. Brunson was ready to go, but Brunson he's had 5-round fights. He's been at the top of the card a few times. He's also a wrestler, background in wrestling, so his cardio's never been an issue. But it's just a bad look on Shabazian, man. And I mean, I guess we're gonna see a 3-round fight. I guess that's what we should prepare for, because Shabazian's going for 3 rounds, I guess. I don't know. But it should be an interesting fight, man. And like you said, depending on how they win, it's going to be where we place them. I kind of like what you said, where they don't move a lot because it's a 3-round and not a 5-round. But I mean, you can't. You know, if Shabazian, knocks Brunson off in a highlight reel fashion, he's going to be the new darling. Where Chimia was the darling this week is going to be Shabazian whenever if he ever does that to Brunson.
That's right, and I'll be singing the praises too.
That's why he didn't want 5 rounds. I can already hear Alex argue.
He already knew it. It wasn't going to last 5 rounds.
That's funny.
But go ahead. What you think about it, Ace? What do you think about the fact that it's a 3-round fight?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I always want to try and put my head into a fighter's mentality where a 3-round fight is completely different than a 5-round fight. Mm-hmm. So the training for that has to reflect that. But at the same time, yeah, you guys make good points as far as like, if this is the kind of level you want to be at, a 5-round fight is kind of required. It's so interesting, right? Because it's all about cardio and it's all about conserving energy and it's all about the right place where you use your power, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So knowing to exert yourself at the right moment. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested because I really do feel like the winner of this fight is going to have a say in some sort of way when it comes to the rankings. So I'm curious what the matchmaking would be for their, whoever wins. Who do you guys have for that, by the way? Can I ask or no?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Shabazian. I mean, he hasn't gone wrong for me yet.
Yeah.
He's a guy that he'll knock you down and then he'll choke you out on the ground, very quickly too. So I'm gonna take Shabazian, but this guy Brunson, man, he's no joke. Brunson is a big dude that can take a hit. And to me, Shabazian is one of those guys. He's an Adesanya type, where they're very stringy and wiry for the division. They're not big. Like you look at Whittaker, you look at Gastelum, and you look at Brunson. Even Hermanson, they're very bulky. And Brunson too. They're very bulky. They're not small. Whereas I look at Shabazian, like I look at Adesanya, and even a little bit like Cannonier, even though Cannonier is jacked. They're just more stringy. They're more wiry, and that can be a problem against a guy who throws power like Brunson does. Definitely, I wouldn't put money on it, but I'm gonna say Shabazian. I'm gonna go with my heart instead of, I don't know, my gut or my head or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the problem with wrestling too. Like regardless of wrestling, because that's always going to be a factor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn.
That's probably why I say certain fighters. Why I said Wei Li won that fight, because I have a personal stake in that person. But I'm a wrestling guy, and I'm gonna always go for who appeals to me. I'm not gonna just look at it. I can look at it from a more unbiased standpoint, but what's the fun in that, Jesus? Then we don't have a back and forth between each other.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll pick the opposite just to argue.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The thing about Brunson now is he's been such a journeyman, man. Up to this point, he's still a journeyman. That's why he has his fight against this up and comer. But the last 2 fights he's had, he said something switched in his mind. And I mean, fighters always say this is the best he's ever been, and he's fighting smart now. He's not allowing the brawls to take place, which is what got him beat all those times, including the Adesanya fight and some other fights. I think the Jacare fight as well. So he said that he's fighting smarter. If he's fighting smarter and he uses his wrestling on Shabazian, there's a real good chance that he can grind out a decision. But there is more avenues to victory for Shabazian, which is obviously piecing him up on the feet, taking him down and choking him out, which Derek Brunson is not a scrub on the ground either. I think he is a black belt as well. But I just feel like there's more avenues to win for Shabazian, so that's why I would pick Shabazian, but it won't be easy, in my opinion.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and Adesanya and Paulo are confirmed, by the way.
Yeah, August 15th, I think.
The one I see says September 19th.
September.
Yeah, UFC 253. So that's a confirmed fight. So.
All right, that's going to be a good one too. Those two guys have some bad blood. Yeah. So there is definitely, this is not going to be a repeat of what we saw with Adesanya against Yoel Romero.
Can I ask you guys who you guys have in that fight, by the way? Just because I'm curious.
Ooh.
In the Adesanya Costa fight?
Yeah. Since we're talking about the division.
I'm going to say Adesanya. I think Adesanya is a more well-rounded fighter. And he can hit you from any angle. But Costa's power, dude, going toe for toe the way he did against Yoel Romero was so impressive. I don't know how he's going to pass USADA or make weight, but that's on him. That's not for me to worry about. That's for him to worry about.
He looks like he ate a freaking 185-pounder right now.
I saw a picture. Someone posted a picture of Paulo Costa, like after he won a fight, and he's like celebrating, and someone was like, he smacks your girl in the ass. What do you do? I put call USADA. I'm calling USADA because he's gonna get popped.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have Adesanya winning kind of easy in my opinion, just because Adesanya's seen this guy before. He's almost a cut and paste copy of Yoel Romero as far as what they try to do. They just try to walk you down and set you up to throw the big overhand. And he got through Romero. He didn't get through him in the greatest of ease, but also Costa's not as technically skilled as Romero is. So I think he's gonna get caught. I think he's gonna get beat up. I think he's gonna get pieced up, man. I just feel like if he's gonna strike with a guy who has kickboxing championships, he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose. He thinks he's gonna go in there and knock him out. But Adesanya didn't get to the top in the way and the manner he did by not being a good counter striker and not understanding the game. And if Paulo Costa is thinking that, he's wholly underestimating Adesanya and his rise and how he's dispatched his opponents, and that's a big mistake for Costa. And that's what I think is happening. I think Costa thinks this is going to be an easy fight. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to land this big overhand right that nobody knows is coming, which everybody knows is coming, and he's going to get a rude awakening. So I just feel it's going to be an easy fight for Adesanya.
Right. Do you guys think the cut's going to hurt him?
It's going to hurt who? Costa? Yeah, man. Costa's had problems cutting, man. In the lead up to the Romero fight, Romero was dropping all these pictures of Costa taking IVs after the weigh-in, which is horrible, man. That's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. Two, it just shows how hard it is for him to cut weight. And the dude has to walk around at like 225, 235, man. Like he's huge. Jacked. Yeah, he's jacked. Yeah, man. I think that's going to be a problem. He's a professional. I think he's missed weight maybe one time early in his career, but he hasn't missed weight in the UFC, I don't think. So he's a professional. I think he's going to make weight, but it is going to be something for it. If it goes into the later round and he's being pushed, like Adesanya's going to push him, then it's going to be a problem for him too. That's another avenue that I see that Adesanya could tire him out and kind of take a late TKO just because Costa can't defend himself.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and that's the end of our little preview for Shabazian versus Brunson next week. There's a couple other fights that finally a full card was announced. I think up until like last week, the only fights that were on the card were Aldana and Holm, and Shabazian and Brunson. But then Holm and I think Aldana had to pull out of that fight. But they finally have a card together. I know Calderwood is fighting Jennifer Maia. She stepped out of because Shevchenko is going to be, I guess, sitting out for a bit, which a well-deserved rest that she deserves. She's going to be sitting out for a bit, and instead of waiting around, Calderwood decided to take this fight, big risk, against Jennifer Maia. But we'll see if it pays off for her. Maybe just keep her warm and keep her, in fighting shape. But Jennifer Maia is not a joke. So we'll see how that goes. But before we head out, I also want to say congrats to Sasha Banks. She beat Asuka tonight to keep or win the Raw Women's Championship. For those who aren't following wrestling, one of the best storylines that's going on in WWE right now is Bayley and Sasha as tag team champions. And now that they're both Sasha Banks being the Raw Women's Champion and Bayley being the SmackDown Women's Champion, they're both Bayley Dose Belts or whatever Sasha wants to call herself. And it's one of the best. Bayley, she's finally found her footing as a heel, and I'm loving it as that annoying little constant, just annoying heel. It's fantastic though. So glad to see that Sasha Banks got that win against Asuka. I'm excited to see where they go with that. But also before we head out, Ace, I want you to talk a little bit about the Schmoedown before we head out. Oh yeah, man. What do you want to know? Just how are you feeling going into your title match? So those who don't know, the Movie Trivia Schmoedown is a movie trivia competition league. It's the mix of movie trivia, MMA, and wrestling. You have the characters, but you also have the legit competition. And to me, it's a sport. It's 100% a sport.
Absolutely.
If you can call video games a sport, you can call movie trivia a sport. It's you got to exercise your mind, and to see the things that you guys remember is ridiculous. Especially you being in the Star Wars division is ridiculous. There are things that you've remembered that I didn't even know was a thing. But how you went through your tournament, you knocked out, you were able to TKO Josh Cavedo, you're able to beat the former champion Kid Knapsack, your mentor, your what is it? I guess your Jedi, your master.
Yeah, Yoda.
You're the apprentice. Yeah, you were able to beat him.
Oh, you're muted.
We lost you. You muted.
You were able to take out Laura Kelly, who was a juggernaut in the division. And then my guy, Dimalanta, I love Dimalanta, but you also you were able to overcome adversity and beat him. How are you feeling going into your match against Alex Damon, the Demon?
Yeah, well, it's funny. We talked about the fight mentality, right? Because that's how my mentality is. Like, I'm all or nothing. Like, I'm not going in for fun or to like play around. Like, to me, it's like I have to win, or it's this whole thing was a waste of time. Like, for me, that's how much I have to do it, because in my head, if I'm not saying I already won, I'm gonna win, then I'm gonna lose. Because if I second guess myself, that's gonna be the attitude, and that kind of attitude is kind of what got me through the tournament. If I'm being honest, like, my mentality was making sure every opponent I was going up against, I expected them to be perfect at 100%. And that way I'm never surprised. And that way I can just always be like, oh yeah, this guy is going to hit everything in every question. I have to hit every question right. So for me, against Damon, it's just hope that when it gets to the 5-pointer, we're going perfect all the way through, and that 5-pointer he gets is one that he doesn't know, and the 5-pointer I get is one that I know, because I think it's all on the 5-pointer now, because Star Wars division is so tight. I don't think anyone's going to be so far behind that it won't get to the 5-pointer. And I think those 5-pointers, man, they can range from like no one knows this, like not even George Lucas knows what this is. So
absolutely, man.
That's what I'm hoping for.
But you've been, if I'm not mistaken, you've hit all of your 5-pointers.
All my 5-pointers, yeah.
5-pointer yet. So that puts the pressure on Damon for sure to go out there. And also, he might be a little rusty. He's been training in IG a lot. He's had all his focus on IG.
I wanted him to go all the way in IG so he could just focus on that. Because let's say if he kept going in IG, he would have had to worry about a title shot. Then if he hadn't to worry about a title shot, he would keep studying for that. And he would just overlook me. And I was like, oh, I could skate by. But now I'm going to get Damon at 100%, dude. There's no way. I'm sure he's prepping right now.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And then also with your team with Swag, a fantastic run. Winston Marshall as a rookie manager. I personally believe that he is the manager of the year so far. It is only halfway through the year, but in my opinion, he is the manager of the year. The fact that he can he's the epitome of what you want a manager to be. He takes his competitors individually and figures out what they need individually. Whereas I love Bobby Gucci, but he does kind of say the same thing over and over again in his matches against with his competitors. Whereas Winston, every time he's talking to a different competitor, it's a completely different message. How has Winston impacted your career here in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown?
Honestly, everything. Like, he's everything. Because if I wasn't drafted by Winston, I don't know if I'd be doing this well. Considering as a manager, you have to learn the ability to motivate, the ability to inspire. That's really underrated when it comes to coaching or managing. The ability to get that out of your player or your teammate is so important. And he's able to do that with me to make sure that I get it a step further. So as soon as I met Winston, I was like, oh man, I want to win every match for this guy. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah. I mean, apart from the fact that he's a Cowboys fan, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm happy to see what you're doing in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown.
Thank
I
you.
implore everyone who's watching, check out the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Go to Schmoedown Quick Clips if you don't want to watch the entire match. You can find the certain moments, big time moments that are in the league. And I'm telling you right now, once you start watching, you will not stop. I personally have been watching.
I forgot
Star Wars.
Hey, yeah.
Oh yeah, look at this. This is
there you go.
my son's, before he was born, his baby shower. It was a Star Wars.
Oh, that's amazing.
But I personally been watching the Schmoedown since it started, season 1.
Oh no, what?
Those first matches against, I believe there was the JT and Copster one.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily count that one. I think the first one that I absolutely count is I believe it was Katie Sackhoff and Kid Knapsack, which was fantastic. After that, I was hooked.
Yeah, and that's when I was getting into to the Schmoes community.
Yeah.
That's when I moved out to LA, and I got to meet him, and then eventually become an intern, a PA, and then associate producer for that for years.
Nice.
So I was there for that. It was fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna create a Schmoedown of the Schmoedown. So who won season 1 and on what question did they win it on?
Oh, the winner, it was I don't know the question entirely, but the match was Mark Riley versus Josh McCouga for the first ever Movie Trivia champion.
Yeah.
And Mark Riley took it, and Mark Riley's still one of the greats, possibly a Mount Rushmore player. He's got a big match coming up against Video Drew, which is going to be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a huge Schmoedown fanatic. I'm actually been considering starting a Schmoedown podcast.
Oh, nice.
There's 1,000 of them, but
There's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to join in because I just like talking about this sport that I love.
To be fair, all of them are like, I feel like everyone watches each other's, so they're all evenly watched, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's a really good community because they all support each other. So
definitely, yeah. I love personally, I love the Let's Get Ready to Schmoedown guys, Suge Knight and Ferris.
Those guys are great.
They're great. But also, before you head out, I want you to go ahead and plug First Cut, and then we'll go ahead and head out for the night.
Yeah, so First Cut is my YouTube channel. You can find movie reviews, video essays, commentary. We do live versions of First Cut. We're going to do one this Wednesday. We're just talking about the week and kind of the news that went on. So make sure you guys tune in there. It's with my buddies RB3 and Sabrina. They're great, so tune in for them.
Absolutely. And Jesus, where can they find you, bro?
You'll find me on Twitter at The Real Jesus, and that's spelled JEEZUS. I'm on there all the time, talking noise and talking crap. And I love any questions or anything you guys see from our podcast you guys want to talk about. I'm definitely always hitting you guys back.
Absolutely, and you can find me at Alec Miller 0423. You hit me up there. I'm trying to tweet during the fights and get in some arguments with some guys about the fights. But hit me up there. Talk movies. Talk Schmoedown. Talk any kind of sport. I love sports, so we'll be there. Definitely be tweeting during the NBA season because everyone's gonna be trashing my man James Harden, but I'm gonna be a constant defender. But yeah, guys, make sure you guys check us out next week. And next week we'll be breaking down the Brunson versus Shabazian fight. And then the week after that, we're going to be, very wrestler heavy.
Yes.
Because we will have a week off from UFC. So we'll be very wrestler heavy with SummerSlam on the way. And if I'm not mistaken, AEW might have a pay-per-view upcoming. So we'll be breaking that down there and all that good stuff. Also go to the Patreon. It's patreon.com/armbars and suplexes. You can join the Patreon there and help support us. And like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. And we will see you guys next time. Peace out.
AMF.